Oh, so I'm gonna stop my share.
There you go.
And,
Actually, you need to give me, this is a controller.
yeah. Let's see.
I do.
You got it, Leah?
I do. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to get YouTube running in the background, so give me just a sec. All right, awesome. Okay, we're good to go. Josh, are you doing okay?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Also, real quick before we get into that, anyone who's not a board member or speaking at the moment, please mute your microphones so we can reduce our background noise.
Especially the person that has the wood chipper in the background or the drone they're flying around in their bedroom. Whatever that is.
Rain, maybe.
Or a strange sounding dog.
Okay, I'm gonna mute some of these then because I might not be listening. Okay, so minutes. See, Alex has joined us. And Valerie. All right. So let's go ahead and slide down there,
On
Josh.
this, on G and H here, are we on the reviewing the minutes?
Yeah, Josh just needs to slide the page down so we can see them. There we go.
Yeah, I think that is it consider ways to bring coastal and pastoral residential feel to aesthetic. You know, consider adding buffer between building, you know, well, anyway, I think that the point that Josh made that brought up about the building not looking like a residential building is important. And I think that the building, you know, could be redesigned with minimal expense to bring it into a you know, warmer, more residential feeling. And that would be my comment.
Okay.
I
So
don't know.
can you give Joe direction on what exactly that should say, John?
Mr. Chair, I don't think we should be adding comments. This is a record. It's a record of what was said. When we review minutes, we cannot keep adding to them. It has to
I
be.
think just to that, sorry, just to speed us along, I think letter G actually kind of addresses that, right? Consider ways to bring coastal, pastoral, and residential feel to the aesthetic. So, you know, maybe using the word aesthetic is a little bit obtuse. You know, it's probably just wordsmithing, you know, architectural, exterior, and, you know, detailing and finishes. That's probably where that comes from. So as long as that's clear, I think it was made pretty clear. So just, you know, this is my comment. I think that letter G handles it fine.
Okay, John, you
okay with that, John?
Or is there some kind of wording you'd like to change?
Johnny.
I think you could add the word "the" in here, you know, and residential feel to the aesthetic.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Anything else on item 1? Okay. Item 2. Segura.
Going back to 1 just for a minute, you know, the word consider got used about 8 times. And I wonder, particularly on letter H, I thought that was kind of an important comment. Anything about private space Yeah, so both F and H, I think those are kind of stronger comments.
Mhm.
So one thing I just to note for this project, the review was really it was not a required. It was all consideration. The applicant was just looking for feedback, and they don't plan on returning to the board.
Oh, that's
So
true.
that's why.
That's true.
Right. So that's why I used consider for all of these, just because it was really, that was the intent of the review, I guess.
Right, right. Yeah,
Yeah,
because it wasn't a regular review. That's true. Okay.
Joe, you're brilliant.
Consider away.
Thank you for keeping us on track. You're a deep thinker. There's no question.
All right, moving on, item 2. Item 3. Internally consistent location. So item C on 3, I think they did sort of demonstrate existing versus new, but it was just hard to tell. So I think further clarify what is new versus existing on site plans. Or clarify more clearly what is new.
Clearly clarify more clearly.
Be clear about clarifying.
And then put the word clear with a question mark at the end.
So what do we actually want this one to say?
Tell me, what college did you go to?
I went to dumb hippie college in Boulder.
I would say, what was it again?
So I have right now further clarify what is new versus existing on site plan.
I mean, that kind of says it's not great, but gets the point across.
Okay.
All right, number 4. Toro Canyon.
You nailed it.
Fabulous.
We're not allowed to take that much time to read it. Come on, guys. Next, 5.
Can you go up just a little bit, Josh, so we can see the address for this item 5?
Yeah, sorry.
There we go. Okay. Carpinteria, new residence.
Nailed it again.
He's on a roll.
I'll take it.
Oh, we're gonna.
Yep. Same.
Oh, 6 is fantastic.
3
Yeah.
for 3. Oh my God. Okay, here we go. This looks like trouble. All right, let's see. This is for the slow SLO Cultivation Center. Okay.
Oh, well, item A, I'm not sure we were all on board with the size, bulk, and scale of that building. We actually asked them to, it was sort of clarify why the one-story building is 20 feet high, the one-story section. It seemed like it could have been reduced.
Yeah, I think it was 28 feet high.
At the two-story section, I think it was 28.
But
Okay.
letter E does talk about reducing the height of the structure, so it's true A and E are in conflict.
Yeah. So we should bring E up to the first one and just say the project has been significantly improved.
And then go to E, look for opportunities to reduce height of structure, architecture to provide justification.
Yeah. And then we could also say maybe a separate one, architectural design is appropriate.
Yeah.
Site visit is required. I don't remember. They
That's
couldn't
one
use
of the-
story poles.
That was the one we were trying to have a site visit altogether, but I don't think it's,
It's going to be on Wednesday at varying times next
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Okay, was there a comment about story polls?
Story
Are
poles,
they-
they're sort of unable to do them because how do you put story poles on top of a greenhouse?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. So is there a comment there, or do we just, I think I just left that out.
I think we just said look, site visit, and we'll have to use our brains,
Okay.
visualize.
On A, we say that the size, bulk, and scale is appropriate, and then on E, we say we should look at the height of the structure. So apparently, the size, bulk, and scale is not appropriate.
We just went through that.
We took that out.
Oh,
we eliminated
you should have
the,
woke me up.
That's what I was going to say. Did you take a quick nap? Right. Say roof color. Okay, not appropriate. Okay, yeah. Anything else? That was the last item, I think, right? 7.
Right.
So someone want to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make motion to approve.
I'll second.
Hey, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I need to recuse myself from item number 1 for those minutes. But that's it.
I
Okay.
recuse myself from item number 4.
Okay. So moving on, SBAR members informational briefings. Anyone have anything they'd like to share? Great.
Did we get a, I heard a rumor we have a new board member coming on board.
Really? There.
That's still happening from
No.
discussion that somebody was in the interview process. Is that, anybody know anything about that?
Well, I think last time we were informed that that person who was on the SFDB has been convinced to remain at SFDB, even though this board is way cooler.
Why would they do that?
I know.
SFDB.
Change the chair.
Oh, yes. So I reached out to a bunch of landscape architects and had slight interest from one, but pretty much radio silence otherwise.
I don't know. Two's enough.
I don't think so. Looks like it's coming after me. two might be
Now
too
we're really scraping the barrel here. More landscape architects? Come on.
I think we're still looking. So if anyone out there is listening and wants to be on this fantastic board, we need someone else.
You can tell how fun it is. If you're in the audience and you're enjoying this, you could do this every other Friday.
You could be part of it.
Really, it's a wonderful distraction from the monotony of your day to day. I promise.
You could sit at home in your pajamas. All right. Anything
You're
else?
going to see your colleagues this
Hey,
year. All right.
Mr. Chair, I wonder if we can have a little talk about site visits. How are we going to do this? I mean, I just got a notice, I think it was yesterday, about some kind of a site visit for for today or something? I mean, is that correct? I mean,
Yeah,
we need to have some kind of a, I mean, personally, I think that sometimes a site visit is not, I mean, sometimes the site visits are not required. I think sometimes we do it for tradition, and these times of special circumstances, I think we need to be more careful as to where exactly do we need to see. If some kind of simulations or other kind of devices will suffice. If the board feels that absolutely we need to do the site visits, then we have to figure out a way to do them.
Yeah, I think we've been very selective about which ones we go see, and mostly up until now we've done individually, but I think the benefit is much greater if we are able to view it as a group, at least 4 people at a time. So Leah or whoever, Joe, maybe can you give us an update on what the plan is for the site visit on Wednesday in terms of staggering, or, you know, is everyone showing up at the same time?
yeah, and
Is
could
that
we
determined?
even have several times that are predetermined, then that maybe 2 people at a time can go? I think it's so much better when we're together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, to Valerie's comment. I was thinking about this a bit too. In terms of how we allocate our time to this board, I kind of set aside this day twice a month or whatever it is to do this stuff. And typically the way we would have done this in the past is
Right.
we would have taken a recess and driven out to look at the site and then reconvened and then reviewed the project. And it adds more time to the day, but I'm really not in favor of adding extra days to my duties on this board. So if it's all possible, I would request that if we need to do a site visit, we do what we usually do. We take a recess and we go do a site visit. We all have cars we can hop in and drive out and see. And sometimes just staying in your car will accomplish the goal
Right.
of looking at this from the public right away. Looking at these projects from a story polling standpoint is about, for me, reviewing, you're trying to get a sense of what's going on for sure, but it's also the important really view from the public right away. And that's often done from a street or the beach or a public area that's big and large. And, so most of the time I think it will work out if we just drive there and check it out. We need to we can't really talk to each other anyway. We're not supposed to while we're out there. So there's no point. It's only, just us taking a good look at it. The applicants don't need to be there to get, they don't have to make a presentation on site. We just it should be self-evident what we're looking at. So
Right.
anyway, I'm just in favor of that if at all possible, and understand that in certain circumstances we have to do other things to make this work. And I think that's what we're doing Wednesday, but I'm not complaining. I'm just making the request.
Yeah, I would
Consider it.
second that request. I think that's a good way to do it. Put it back into Fridays, have it be a recess where we drive to it and that there's some kind of cohesiveness to it. I mean, what happened with the site visit, we got the notice yesterday afternoon, and, I wonder how many people even made it to see it, and we're hearing that item this morning. So.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. So there's 2 things that play here. I think one, for a simple private residence that can be viewed from the street, we definitely need more notice. We can't get notice for professionals like we are the day before and expect that we're all going to make it out there. Secondly, for the project in question for Wednesday, it's private property. Well, they all are, but we need to be let in the gate. So that's why I think the idea was to have the applicant there to let us all in so that we can all kind of be there at the same time. Otherwise, it makes it more difficult for them to schedule each and every one of us, I think. But if we did 2 groups, that might work. So anyway, back to Leah, or Willow, I don't know who's the planner on that. What was the plan for Wednesday?
So, Tracy, you know what? I believe that there was, so that was originally the plan. We were going to have, 2 members or groups less than a quorum show up at the site and kind of go through together, and then have any of the members of the public join us as well. But I believe that there was another conversation that took place afterwards with management and the planner. And there's now different instruction. I haven't been made fully aware of what the new plan is. Maybe Joe, can you speak a little more to that, or was that an auto conversation that you had with?
Yeah, I'm aware of the conversation that took place, but I don't know all of the details. I can check in and get a little bit more details as this hearing proceeds today. So maybe I can check in later with more details. But essentially, there is a concern with COVID-19 practices that we need to be as safe as possible. And if this is a site visit that is subject to the Brown Act, then it needs to be available for members of the public to also join. So there is a potential concern for having too many people on site at once. So I guess stepping back real quick from this specific project and looking at the larger comments, the more broad comments that were made today, I like the idea of completing drive-by site visits individually on the same day as the hearing. I think that makes a lot of sense. And that's consistent with the practice that we had kind of set up previously, that each BAR member do a drive-by site visit individually. Where we get into trouble, I think, is where we have to, where the BAR members join up and it becomes a noticed public meeting at that point. Leah, does that sound consistent with your understanding of it?
Yes. So there was also talk about kind of eliminating, well, you know what, let's touch base after the meeting. We'll make sure that we're all on the same page. And then we can present that information to the board members. I think that two different kinds of conversations happened, and then I'm not sure where it finally landed on.
Okay, so yeah, let's
Right.
email members with a clarification sometime next week.
Yeah, Chris, I'd like to make a point too. I mean, if you make a drive-by and see the story poles and you don't have a site plan or anything of reference, it's still kind of confusing. I don't know if you're allowed to download the site plan for these projects. I don't know if that's legal or illegal.
Well, for this project in particular, I believe it was this one, the applicant offered to print a set of plans for each SBAR member.
Yeah,
which
that's right.
I think was smart, and or there could be one on site or a couple on site. So yeah, I think that's a good point, John, and something that needs clarification. How do we, how can the applicant show us what's happening on the site? If is it one at a time? Can we do groups of two? Can we do two groups of three if we're far enough apart?
Yeah, well, one thing, the applicant could make a thumbnail, on 8.5 by 11, and that would be sufficient, really, just for to locate where the buildings are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of moving parts there, and I think that Leah and Joe need to get with the uppers and provide us with some clarification next week.
Well, the drawings are available online. We can take a look at the drawings. Only thing we need to print is probably like a story pole plan in an 8.5 by 11. We look at the drawings online, we remember, we see the story poles, and that's that. It's not that complicated.
Yeah. Okay.
So Leah, I just have a question. What happened with the story poles that we just found out about last night? Why couldn't we get a little more advanced?
So that was published on the agenda. I should have probably highlighted it and sent it to you like in the body of the email, like I did yesterday.
Mhm.
And that was just an oversight on my part. That was just me trying to get all the information to you so that you could review and not thinking, hey, I should probably highlight the fact that there's story polls out there for this project. 'Cause
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if you guys go through and read, the details of the agenda, I think you just look at, project name, go look at the files, and it kind of refreshes your memory. So I'll make more of an effort to kind of highlight when there's something a little different or that needs more attention on your part.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, the other thing with that, in terms of getting this all ready for us during the week, before the meeting, is that there's usually things are happening all the way up until the end. So I'm always waiting until Thursday night these days to review the material for the next day's meeting. So I think we had tried to set Wednesday as a hard stop date and nothing else can be added. But again, we just got photos put in and letters put in last night after I reviewed it. It was already 8:00 at night. So I can't, it's, we need some kind of standards here there should be a date. I think Wednesday, at noon or something. There's, that's it. You can't add anything else. If you haven't gotten it in, it's not in.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? Joe and I just had a conversation about this, and I think that the responsibility of the plans being in there in the right format and all of the information that was provided by the applicant to the planner, I think that task and that responsibility is going to be transitioned over to each of the individual planners. And I think that's going to alleviate a lot of these late submittals.
Okay.
Yeah, also, we need to have an agenda earlier. I wrote an email about that. I think by Wednesday we should know exactly how many items, so we start planning our days.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, I agree. All right, good. I think that's enough of that. Anything else from anyone? Okay, moving on. Staff update, item number 5. Joe?
So I don't have any other specific updates. I will get back to you probably during this hearing with more feedback about the site visit, that whole discussion. I'm coordinating with management right now. So I guess we can chat about that before the end of the day.
Okay, perfect. All right, item number 6, consent agenda. We had one item on the agenda, which was the Withrich Trust new single-family dwelling. It was here for final approval on consent. 2930 Holly Road received final approval with comments regarding landscape or plant sizes and spacing. And I think that was it, right?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, so Kaylee, you want to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve for final on consent with the comments noted.
Okay, and I guess I'll second that because I was also reviewing it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, moving on to the standard agenda. Thanks for your patience. Item number 1, the Simpanis single-family dwelling. This is for further conceptual review and review of story polls for a 2,700 square foot single-story residence, attached 900 square foot garage, and a detached single 2-car garage and shop of approximately 950 square feet with a 780 square foot guest house above, so 2-story. We last saw this on April 3rd of 2020. And we have many comments. I saw Gordon earlier. Gordon, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay. So what, in your eyes, is the best way to review this? Should I read through all these comments? Should we do them one by one? Has the project changed considerably so that some of these are null and void, or what are your thoughts on presentation?
It's not changed. First of all, apologize, can't get my video working, which you guys probably are beneficiaries of that anyway, not to look at my mug. but it's changed. It's basically the same, although we've made a few changes. We reduced the house size to 2,500 square feet. And then one of the comments that wasn't written down, but one of the board members was concerned about the amount of garage we had on the site. So this is now, it's 2,500 square foot house, and then the garage has been reduced to 600 square foot, a 2-car, 600 square foot garage. So other than that, it is pretty much, it's essentially the same. So we could run through the individual comments,
Yeah, it's probably best to do it that way. Okay.
Yeah, that way we know we're.
All right. So first comment: site visit and story poles at garage and guest house and ridge of main house required, which we're done. And as we were just discussing, we weren't informed until yesterday. So apologies for that. Was anyone able to drive by? Kaylee was.
Yeah, I did this morning.
Yeah,
It was
I
great.
did.
Val lives out there, so she probably did too. And I believe we have some photos of those story poles.
Yeah, I sent photos in from the street, the view from the street on the, it's on the other package.
Okay, so maybe we should look at that real quick, Josh, and
Yeah.
just pull those up. So, next best thing.
Go ahead and scroll it all the way at the bottom. There you go. So this is from, all these are standing in the street, Gouverneur Canyon. This is the east property line, so it's the furthest one to the left. And essentially there's a row of trees of this size all along that. And the story poles are there, but this gives you an idea of how little visibility there is. So there's basically just a series. This is the left one, then the next one is moving up the street to the right. So you could scroll down to the next one. There you go. So there's the middle portion. So you can see there's, at that point, there's a good 8 to 10 foot bank from the surface of the road to the actual finished grade of the lot there. And then moving on to the right. That's the middle right looking back. You can see the house back in there. And then the west is back at the driveway. So that's where your view starts from the house.
All right, great. Thank you. I think that was the last photo. All right, return with more detailed architectural drawings.
So we have that. If you want to go back to the other package and scroll down, I think it's the next one. Yeah. So we went and took these to CAD. What we had before were freehand conceptual, and I think the consensus was that it looked good, but concerned that it actually would end up looking like that. So we went ahead and took the next level of detail here in terms of creating that, and some refinements. And this shows the new garage. I think the other previously there was a conflict in the elevation, so this shows everything correctly now. So single story floor plan, the owner, it's a retirement home for the owner, and his parents are going to live with him also. So that was the challenge and the direction in getting a single story plan to work on that, the single level.
Okay.
So next. Front elevation, virtually the same as the previous sandstone, natural sandstone, veneer, board and bat siding, presidential composition roof, outlookers, kind of a ranch style to fit in with the area.
Wow. This was a gut remodel. This was basically a
So next.
Oh, hell no.
And the rear, trying to keep everything as low as possible. The 9-foot plates, we're using 9-foot plates. to keep that roof down. We have a couple of gables in the front, which sneak up very close. I think one encroaches just a few inches or foot into the 19-foot plate height, I think, which is shown here. Then it's actually behind the fireplace stack. So technically you don't see the portion that's a foot above or 10 inches above the 19-foot line, because it's behind the fireplace and it's just at that gable end. Well, next. And then this is the garage guest house. On the right is the single story. I mean, it's a garage level bathroom. On the left is the second floor guest house. And then you'll see when we go to the sections, you'll see that the upper level comes in off the grade. We've recessed the garage so that there aren't steps even to the guest house. Next. And then elevation, again, same as we had, carrying the same themes and materials and through to the guest house also. 8-foot plates on the second floor to keep that mass down. 9 foot on the first, because the owner will be using this as a shop. He's a carpenter, and needed to have that extra height. So we have 9-foot plates on the first floor.
Which is the side that faces the street?
The front. I'm calling it the front. It's the front of the garage. Actually, it's a little confusing. The rear elevation is the front of the guest house, but the front elevation is what faces the street.
Okay.
Next. And then those are the drawings. That's the architectural drawings. What was the next item then, Chris?
Yes, so we did ask for a grading plan, which is where we are. So board is concerned with scope of work and visibility. Applicant to return with grading plan and site sections that shows how the development will integrate with the site.
So we've moved into that phase. As you can see, it's a very challenging site. Much of it's 20 to 30%. Everything's tough about it. The entrance is very difficult, so we have to come back and do some grading and get a wall in to be able to have the access into that. And then laying out our 15% max drive to our 5% hammerhead, and then 15% up. It pretty much just dictates elevations as we go up the site. We did meet with the fire department. They reconsidered this, and so we did put a hammerhead in to provide the best protection for this. So that flattens that area in front of the garage, and then the slope goes up to the main house, and that's a pretty, well, it's 15% slope. And so what we've done is trying to balance the grading, balance retaining walls versus fill here. So why don't we go to the next sheet, shows the sections. So the bottom section shows you what we're cutting the pad in for the main house at various points there to keep that retaining wall as low as possible at the back. And then we're creating a yard in the front. So we have a retaining wall between that and the garage to create a flat area. And we're dropping that down from the level of finished floor of the house to lower that wall. And then we tucked the garage into the grade there to be able to keep that height down and be able to accommodate the hammerhead. And see, let's go back to and as you can see on the bottom of this sheet, the lower end of that section where it stops is actually right below that is the grade of the road. So that gives you a feel for the elevation of this. But then there are those oaks, 30-foot oaks that you saw in the photographs that are right along the edge of that bank.
Okay. So D, we kind of already went over. That was return with better photo documentation from the road, how to screen the garage and guest house. and a better sense for how the driveway connects to the house, provide site sections, which we're doing right now, extending through the adjacent properties and through the roadway. Floor plans and elevations do not match. Update all plans, including site and building, which you've done. Provide material for retaining wall and driveway.
You know that, I apologize, that's one that got missed in all of our scrambling on this. So we'll be looking at that and come back on our next presentation for that.
Okay, and then return with landscape plan.
So there, this is our preliminary plan. I think one of the concerns initially in the request for this was the screening, which at the time we didn't have the photographs to show those oaks. And so the idea for the rest of the site is to try and keep that as natural as possible, because there's a lot of vegetation there now. And so this is basically kind of an initial direction of bringing in some finish, but try and keep it as natural as possible.
Okay. And impact to oaks is likely. Return with arborist report, which we also looked at.
Yeah, we have about a total of 20 replacement trees.
Are those shown on this landscape plan?
It is actually not shown. We just got this report completed, so this preliminary plan does not show that. But there will be a total of 20 15-gallons oaks that go into this.
Okay, so you'll bring that back next time. All right, anything else we should look at, Gordon?
No, I think that's it. I think in terms of just clarifying our status here, we're in the process of CDH and CUP, so we can't get anything more than conceptual at this point. But I wanted to come back and clarify these items before we, so we could deal with the issues while we're in the process instead of waiting to come back for preliminary.
Okay. Very good. So let's bring it back to the board then for questions.
You can come in.
I have a couple of questions. Looking at the plan, that if you can blow it up a little bit, if you enlarge it, what's the road width and why does it get so wide at the when it connects to Governor Canyon Road? Why does it have that bulb in there?
It's because of the left-hand turn. We were obviously not wanting to do that, but when we talked to the guys in roads, and if a car is turning left off of Gubernador into that site, that's the minimum they require for the distance to be able to make that turn.
No, I get that, but how about what it would be the north side, the retaining wall on the north side that dies into the Gobernador Canyon Road?
Oh,
why is it so far to the why doesn't it kind of swing into it?
Well, that it becomes a site distance, because what's not shown here is about at that property line a little bit far, a little past that, the road bends to the left. So, and actually, Alex, that's a good point, because I'm going to go back and we're going to have another meeting. The engineer felt like that helped us. And when I was out there at the site yesterday or last week, looking at that, I standing there, I don't think that really helps us from a viewpoint, assuming that the car's on the right side of the driveway going down, which is where it is. I don't see the necessity to cut all that back, because it's really not helping. The corner at the property line is really the pinch point for view. So I think that we can bring that back in, like we talked about. And,
also, the other one, the second, I'm not sure how to. Maybe Josh can point to right where the arrow is that says driveway by others, right at the point, right there you go. There. Why is that doesn't it move more towards the south? That portion right there, like another 10 feet, let's say, and make like a hook, so that the cars kind of start pointing and they can make a right turn or a left turn coming out.
Because of the grade, it drops off quite steeply there, right where it is now. It can roll out onto it planes out with the road, but it's falling very steeply coming back the other way. It's a tough
Okay.
situation.
Okay, and another question. On the other side, next to the house and north of the main residence, what is that? Is that the patio? Or what's there? It seems like a big area, about 20 feet by.
That's a parking area for the guest house.
No, a little bit more. On top, to the right of, to the excuse me, to the left, to the south of that.
Okay, just adjacent to that is the front yard.
Is that a
It's
lawn?
grass. I'm not seeing anything. Is that paving, grass? What is
Yes,
it?
no, it's lawn. It's grass.
Okay, thanks.
I have a question.
Okay.
Reading through Duke's report, it didn't look like he was accounting for the removals that are shown on this plan going up the driveway. Is it because they're already gone? When I visited this morning, I didn't have the plan set with me, but if there's already a driveway cut in, are there additional trees that need to be removed? Or Duke's report seemed like he was mitigating for impact to the oaks more from where the house.
As opposed to replacement.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check with them on that, because we need to go back and look at that. I believe that there was one that was gonna come out, and the others he felt like he could mitigate on it. But I think down at that, where Alex was talking about that area, I think there's one that does have to come out. It's just right on the edge. And
Okay.
So we'll confirm that.
Okay, yeah, just justifying the plan with his report, which I realize you guys just got it. So.
Yeah, that would be my question too. If I'm reading Duke's report right, it's the biggest oak that's just to the right of the little car on the driveway.
Yeah.
Between Gobernador and the driveway, and that's a really major tree. It's a 30-inch diameter. And
Yes.
he's saying that that's impacted. And yeah, so I wanted to get more clarity on which ones he thinks are really gonna have to come out. That's rather unfortunate.
Well, and you're exactly right. And that's why, based on what I was looking at, what Alex was commenting on, I really don't see a reason for that wall to be where it is. So I think that we can bring that wall out and then give that tree some breathing room and not get so close and have a problem with that.
Good.
Okay. Other questions?
Yeah, looking at the garage below the guest house, the access there looks very small. Is that, I'm sure you figured it out. Is that correct?
When you say small, I'm not sure what you mean. Short?
Well, backing out of that garage.
Oh, it is, it's 25 feet from the edge of the door to the short point of the wall. So you're right, it is a little snug, but given the fact that there's an angle and now we have that hammerhead, the idea is that they would back out, around, and then turn and go down.
Okay.
And that's 25 feet at the short point, which is generally what a parking lot backup space is. And then it opens up from there. He'll park his long truck in the right side.
Okay, I think I'm having a little trouble with as far as the driveway layout goes. Anywhere in the plans, does it show what the existing layout of the driveway is?
You mean currently? It's pretty much in the same location. The dirt road that's there now comes up obviously at the same location, and it's a little farther to the left as you make that right-hand turn. The current driveway is probably 10 to 15 feet to the left of that, and so that's unfortunately what's driving us is the width of the garage, and then that turnaround is driving that road back into the bank.
And it's okay. Just wondering because you have, well, that might be a comment. Okay. And then what are the heights of those newly proposed walls on the entry driveway? Because there are not walls there now, right?
Correct, because that's going to have to go back into the bank. So they're varying heights. Right at the what would you call them? The middle of that turn, I think it's 5 feet maybe to 6 feet, and then it slopes. Then it becomes shorter as it runs up the hill. The one at the corner of the garage there, the garage guest house, I think at that point is about 3.5 and goes down to 2. The one at the back of the parking area behind the garage guest house at the front yard of the lawn is, I think, 4.5 to 5, and then slopes, then reduces as it rolls around the corner. And then the one in the rear of the house is varying, but generally probably an average of 4 to 5 there.
Okay, and then the walls that are north of the garage, between the garage and Gubernador Canyon Road.
The one directly in front of the garage is about 18 inches tall, and that is just a crazy function of that 5% minimum for the turnaround, for the hammerhead, and the way that warps in there. It's so frustrating. You have to put dirt on that in there and build that wall, but it's based on the way all those pieces fall together. It's about 2 feet, and then it rolls down, it follows along the edge there until it zeroes out just before it gets down to the Gubernador Canyon.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other questions from the board? All right, moving on. Anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item, please raise your hand. Don't believe we have any letters. And I'm seeing no hands go up, so we'll go back to the board for comments. Mr. Peugeot.
Yeah, let me go. I'm very pleased with the architectural style, and oops, I'm trying to find the right pages. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I think it's well designed, and it's a nice style and so forth. And yeah, I was a little bit dubious at the beginning because of the size, the scale of all of these improvements, but they are well executed, and I like the materials and so forth. I have as I indicated with the questions, I'm a little concerned about the screening, and especially from the road. I think the landscape architect shows locating another oak on in front of the road, between the driveway and the road, which is very appropriate. I'm not too sure about that lawn in front of the house, but I'll let the landscape architects discuss that. The material of the retaining walls will be important, especially as the ones that are closer to the road. I think we'd like to see some sandstone or something, not the plaster wall. That's what I have. Okay,
and is that was actually one of the comments? Provide the material for the retaining walls, and was that delineated, Gordon? Was that
I mentioned that initially. That's something that we did not address through this. So next time back, when we come back, we get our CDP and we come back, we'll have that nailed down for you.
Okay. All right, Ms. Grubb.
But yeah, I appreciate that, because that is what you're going to see from the street as you turn. That wall there is going to be tall also, so that's got to look.
Maybe it has a stone veneer or something, maybe not all over the place, but in important places. And if you can, as you mentioned, if you can remove some of that retaining wall that stretches longer than necessary, that would be very nice.
Yes, that we will work on that.
Okay, Kaylee?
My comment was just to make sure that the landscape plan and the arborist report are coordinated, and make sure that they're, I guess they do make sure he includes in the assessment that Valerie noted about that very large oak being mitigated for if it's going to actually be removed instead of just impacted. And then I design comment would be just to make sure that that transition for off the road to those retaining walls looks intentional instead of just engineered right now.
Yeah. I think as we're talking about that, it's not shown on there, but I think we could, I mean, we're really tight in terms of the dirt, but we could do some vine pockets at the base of that wall at that turning point, which wouldn't really reduce our the minimum drive width much, but be able to get some green up on that wall too. And then if we did stone, like you were saying, Alex, that would really make that look nice.
Well, and it seems right now I was one of the ones that was able to get to the site this morning, and the site is really shrouded in oak trees right now. It doesn't feel like the structures are super prominent from the road, but with the removal of potentially 3 or 4 trees at that entrance or the impact to those trees, when you study the mitigation plan, it might be worth taking a look at it, doing a few larger oaks rather than a kind of shotgun approach of all the 15 gallons to get some more specimens back at that entrance. Because it seems like that's where the most impact will be.
Sure, and that makes sense, and that'll be, but I'll tell you, our goal is going to be to do what we can do to not have to take any of those big ones out, and none of the ones along on the left side of the drive are in question, but it's just those ones at that pinch point, and I think that we'll be able to do whatever we have to do to not have to take those out.
Okay.
Big one.
Okay, that's Kaylee.
That's it for
John?
now.
Okay, John?
Well, yeah, I like the project a lot. It looks like a California ranch house in California. It's great. I think that the garage door is a bit busy, but maybe you can think about that when comes time to really buy one. Okay.
Okay. Ms. Froscher?
Yeah, I was able to drive by it as well. And the biggest challenge is as you're coming from the west side on the road, because of the way the driveway comes off, you're basically kind of looking right in and up. So you don't get the benefit of the big oaks that screen until you get a little bit further down. So you get this big shot up that big driveway. And I think all this discussion of the driveways is really valuable to look at how to create more, not only relief for that big tree that we've been talking about, that I know you're thinking you want to do whatever you can to save it. And I would definitely encourage you to do that. And if you can pull, I know you've got the steep slope pinching you from the south, but even pushing the wall a little bit further into there and pulling it away from the road and getting a better, L-shape turn into the road and get more landscape along that swath between the driveway and the road. Because you could, there's been really effective use of gabion walls down the way at the one-way part, the house that was put in a couple of years ago. They have retaining walls right at the road, and they're so beautiful looking, just stone, and then you can not only get vine pockets in the driveway, but you can also plant from above and let stuff grow down the wall. So even if the southern side of the driveway got a little taller, if you can just push it back into a more graceful shape to relieve those oaks and also get more other planting ability. And, when I was looking at it from the drive-by, the big challenge is trying to put some screening on the side of the garage guest house on the west side. And I know you really only have a tiny little planting strip there.
That's a really good point. And just, I think the site
All right,
plan.
Gordon, Yeah, let's hold off. Let's just let members make
sorry.
comments, and then if you want to rebut after, then you can address a few for a minute or two.
So my feeling is that I like I like the design of the house, and I think the house itself is really tucked back and up, and even the height of the retaining wall behind the house can just kind of blend into the hill with planting, so that could even get taller. It's all about screening the side of the garage building and the frontage along the road. That your photos don't quite show it, but there's really a big blast of view as you come down the road looking in toward that garage. So I think if that can be your big focus, is saving those big oaks and reshaping the driveway to be more graceful and allow more planting. I think that's it. But it's nice architecture, so it's good.
Yep. Josh.
I don't have any additional comments. For the record, my comments should echo Alex's comments.
Okay, can you go to the either site plan or maybe actually the grading plan? Grading plan might show. Okay, so I concur with Val. I think definitely I'm going to try to annotate here, but everything feels really down towards the road, in my opinion. And part of it has to do with needing parking back here. To me, it seems like that pushes everything towards the street. If you could somehow bring this in a little bit, push that back slightly, it almost looks like you have, let me just clear that. If this parking was eliminated behind the garage, it almost seems like you could move the garage back further and move this wall up the hill further. I mean, it almost looks like you have enough parking here, but anyway, just a thought. Or, I mean, could the garage be here? There's really a lot of driveway with this plan, I think, is what I'm having trouble with. This is a huge paved area. I mean, hammerheads are big and that hammerhead looks small on this plan. So you have a lot of paving all the way around the garage and guest house. So I think that a little bit more study would help, and especially because of this and the impact of those oaks. So I guess that's my comment. The only other comment I'd add would be for the landscape plan, because of this view right up the driveway that Val was mentioning, and which you'd also kind of see up to the house, I would suggest adding more oaks or other large shrubs closer to the top of this wall so that it kind of blocks the view up and into this area. I think Chuck had a few oaks, they were back here, and then see it leaves a big wide open view up to the house and to the garage. And lastly, I think it looks like you can get additional planting area around this side. I guess that would be the west side of the garage. Again, lots of paving. So that's it. That's my 2 cents. Any other comments from the board?
Well, can I just jump back in that I really like your idea, Chris, of pushing that guest parking to the west and maybe being able to move the guest house garage back a little bit, and then also creating more planting in that area you just highlighted directly above the guest house.
Like in there?
No, actually, right in next to the building, next to the tip of the hammerhead. Yeah.
West side.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much paving. Yeah.
I'm going to say that I agree with all those comments. I think they're very good comments. Also the idea of more of an L-shaped driveway, so like it goes to the west and then it turns to the north, as opposed to just blending into like a Y shape. Yeah, I think that just to recap, I think the architecture is fine. It's just way too much paving. It's really a lot of paving, and that needs to change.
I think that'll help to alleviate some problems. But I agree. I think the house looks great. It's I like the style, and it just looks nicely balanced, and it's a nice project, but a little tweaking.
Thank you.
All right. Any questions, Gordon? Before, is that clear enough for you?
Very clear. Yeah, and that, like I was saying on that, Chuck didn't get that picked up, but if you look on the architectural site plan, that area is shown as planting, and you know, we can also look at a big tree there. But yes, as I sit here and look at this, yeah, there's really no reason that couldn't slide to the right, which, I mean, it creates a little bit more of a pinch at the drive going up, but it also you know, can reduce some paving, although it's not paving anyway. All that would be planter, and then, so yeah, we'll look at all those things.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Anytime that a fire department hammerhead looks small, you know that you've got a lot of paving.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, good point.
All right, thank you very much. So moving on, item number 2.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Gordon.
Real quick, Mr. Chair, I had a question on the notes. There were a number of comments from the previous hearing. It looks like most of those might have been addressed. Did any of those go away, or do you want to keep those as well?
Well, I guess you can lose the first one, site visit and story polls.
And the second one.
Yep, and the second one, and then I think we could use another photo or two. Those seem to be very pixelated. Yeah, it's really hard to focus. So yeah, maybe better photos.
Yeah, we'll do that next time.
Site sections, you could probably remove E. Those are there. F is there. So that could be removed. And then G stays. H needs further development, so you can just say return with further developed landscape plan. And we're still concerned about the impact of the oaks.
Yeah, and to clarify, you know, how the oaks are being saved.
So you could clarify impact to oaks.
So this project could come back with preliminary, these things are addressed, right?
I would say so.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
I think it's kind of, I would say further conceptual / preliminary, because of all the paving, and if he does shift something,
If he moves the building back a little, it
it may change considerably. I don't know, but so further conceptual / prelim.
And I think the comment is there to reduce the amount of paving, right? Is that?
That's one of them.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and maybe reshape the driveway and protect, try to protect the oaks. All right. Good.
Yes, we'll definitely work on that.
All right. Thank you all.
Okay. Thank you.
Item number 2, Kota Bandaloo Guest House and Garage. This is for further conceptual review of a new 800 square foot guest house and a 400 square foot detached garage. There's a 3,000 square foot residence and 2-car garage currently. It's a 2.8 acre site at 3045 Foothill Drive in Carp. Last seen November 20th of last year. Do we have the applicant with us?
Yes.
Okay, please state your name for the record.
Good morning. My name is Mehdi Hadiji.
Okay, welcome. So I'll go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Say again.
Add my name into it. It's Robert Fowler, the landscape.
Hi, Robert. So I'll go ahead and read through these comments since they're kind of short, and then I'll turn it over to you for your presentation. So first, return with a landscape and hardscape plan. Garage to be in same character as all site development. Provide photos of structures from a public viewing area. Delineate where paving materials change from existing cobble to DG. Dark sky light fixtures presented as appropriate. Return with materials board. So go ahead and take it away.
Yes, the first question returned with landscape. We have provide that on last page, which is the landscape architect provided. And then second one, garage to be in the same character, which we did. And John mentioned that we had it previously siding, but now we changed it to the plaster and tile, which match with the existing character. Provide photos of the structure from the public right away, public view on sheet A 1.3. I have shown all the, I provide 4 photos, which shows the road, and the south part of the road has about 6 feet high hedges, which covers the view from the street to the property. Basically, the road, it's about the elevation 270, and the finished floor of the garage is 252, so about 18 feet drop. You basically cannot see anything from the street, the garage or the guest house. And delineate where the surface material change, which is on the landscape drawing and a site plan shows. And I guess that's about it. I hope I can get final this time. My client really getting nervous, so I would appreciate.
Yeah, you're scheduled for conceptual, so we can't give you final today. But if everything's in order, you'll be able to move through fairly quickly. So the change from DG to cobble, where is that?
So you can see basically that new driveway that's coming in is the existing driveway is cobble. And so what we're proposing is to do kind of a cobble perimeter band. And then what we'll do is in the field is either go to a chip seal or go to some kind of gravel is what I've got on the plan. So we've got kind of a hierarchy to it so that it reads very secondary.
Okay. Is there anything else from the applicant that we should be looking at? Any changes that were made since last time besides the landscape stuff?
Yeah, the garage, we have changed it from siding and asphalt roof to plaster and tile, match with the existing character, as John requested last time.
Okay. And Josh, do you want to just run through the, I guess, the elevations and or sections so we can just see the whole set here? So this is the guest house. Okay.
The next page is the garage.
All right, and then I think the next page is
The detail.
simple garage. Yeah, details. Okay, great. So we'll bring it back to the board for questions. Anyone?
No, I don't have any questions.
No questions. Can you go back one sheet, Josh? I think I just had a question about, and maybe zoom into, I think it's the second one, the one in the middle, the elevation. Okay. Is that a tile patio and then stucco wall underneath?
Correct.
Okay, and wrought iron handrails
Yes.
and coins on the corners. Okay, that's my question. No other questions from the board? Okay, is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item? Raise your hand if so. Okay, seeing no one, back to the board for comments. Anyone can jump in, but not all at once.
I think this project is approvable and could move forward. Maybe can come back for preliminary and final on consent, but they need to bring some of the sections. There are some sections related, keyed on the plans, they're not shown. And the details are missing a couple of little things like, like materials on the eave and so forth.
And the railing on the.
The railing is shown, it is kind of shown in
I
there.
have a detail, Alex.
Yeah.
I have detail. On detail sheet, I have detail shown all that eave, rake, railing, window, doors.
Well, no, that is true. They're very good, but just
I'm
that
also the
on
section.
detail number one, if you can, Josh, you can move it over to the. It's yeah. See, they have all these question marks. It doesn't say anything. It's just, like the typical.
Oh, yeah, that's a CAD error. I mean, for some reason.
Okay.
I have. I mean, if you look at the detail number 2.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No, I mean, listen, I want to move this forward. Detail number 3 says has the same things. Just come back without the CAD errors, and I think that will be fine.
And the section also I have on page A1, A2.1 and A2.2, the 2 sections.
We need to come to order here, sir. We're doing comments. You got to pipe down. Let's just get our comments done and move this on. We're taking way too much time here, guys.
Okay, what I'm saying is that this appears to be perfectly fine. We just need some more documentation for preliminary and final, and I'm willing to. I suggest that we do that on consent. Thanks.
Very well.
If the materials and colors are any different from the house, we also need a materials board. But if you're matching everything, then I think the notes will suffice. Any other comments from the board?
No, I agree with Alex. It's not agendized beyond conceptual today, so we can't give it beyond that, but preliminary final on consent
Is the next best thing.
Yeah.
Okay, anyone, so what do we say, conceptual? So there's really no motion, but is there anyone who disagrees, or are we okay with moving it preliminary final on consent for the next time? Okay, I think we're good.
So the applicant can submit to the building department, with confidence that we're going to approve this if the drawings are complete, right? Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Hey, clients,
Mr. Chair,
stop worrying.
the material and everything is matched with the existing, and I call on a section. So we're not changing. All the material, everything is the same.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, pay attention. You just got what you needed. Your client shouldn't be worried anymore. Let's move on.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Joe, do you need anything? No, I guess it's pretty simple. All right, thank you. Moving on, item number 3, Davis additions. This is for further conceptual of a rebuild destroyed by fire. The project will result in a 2,000 square foot single family dwelling, detached garage, large covered patio, covered entries. The approximately 2,000 cubic yards of over-X and 2,500 cubic yards of recompaction. Wow. And this is located at 5995 Cuesta Verde in the Goleta area, and last seen December 18th, 2020. Do we have the applicant here with us?
Hi.
Please state your name for the record.
Hi, this is Amy Taylor, architect for John and Shelley Davis.
Okay.
I'm here mainly to address your concerns about the roof form of this project. If you want to start on page 8 of the drawing set.
Okay, I'll also go ahead and read through the comments here since they're also fairly short. So let's see, restudy fenestration and ensure it is consistent throughout structure. Study central north elevation. Design of roof pitch should be consistent throughout. Offset pitch does not read well. Study covered back patio to integrate into structure. Consider materials that would lighten up the patio, and return with landscape plan. Okay, good. Take it away, Amy.
If we could go to page 8 of the drawing set. So I followed the board's recommendation and created a central symmetrical pitch for the roof, which is most easily shown at the middle right on the east elevation. To the left of that, the west elevation shows it's symmetrical, although it shows a small extension on a bump out at the back that shows also at the bottom of the page on the south elevation. At the top of the page, the north elevation, I'd like to keep the central part of that elevation relatively simple. And we can thicken the wall around the primary window to give the owner a larger windowsill on the interior of that space. On the next page is the original elevations that you can compare to this. Also, I brought a very rough preliminary landscape plan, which Willow put into the folder for me. If you could also bring that up. Thank you. So what I really wanted to do here is just give you an idea of existing plants at the front of the building and some of the infill that we'll be looking at for screening of the new garage door that faces the street. If you could zoom a little bit to the left upper planting bed. So the garage, to the left of the garage is an existing walnut tree. It may have been from a long time ago. And the overall theme that Mrs. Davis has used is a somewhat tropical. She's very fond of plumerias. There's a very large plumeria directly in front of the garage door. And she also has a variety of palm trees, sagos, pygmy, and I believe it's king palms. So my feeling is that for that planting bed, we just need to do a little bit of infill with shrubbery to further shield the, screen the garage door. And I have not selected those plants yet. I just wanted to give you an idea of the direction we're going. And then off to the right of that is a central planting bed, which essentially has been just a large lawn with a focal coral tree with a few agapanthus and a few boulders in a planting bed under that tree. So they're not really wanting to change the theme there, but I thought we could start discussions about additional screening plants to the left of the tree so that the tree remains a focal specimen, but a little bit of planting up to about 6 feet with some variety will give them the mountain view out of the kitchen focal window, but also help to neck down the driveway a little bit and provide screening from the opposite direction. And from there, we'll just further develop primarily the front planting beds for your review when we come back again. I think that's it, unless you have your questions.
Okay, questions from the board?
Yeah, I have some questions. On page sheet 7, it shows the sections. I want to make sure that it seems like a strange sections. Are those really your proposed sections? And I mean, I guess I don't understand why, like for instance, the section BB, is that what you're proposing? Is that, I mean, just out of curiosity, why wouldn't you use like a scissor truss to do that, which would be simpler and, like in B and C, I guess. And I don't know. I'm a little bit because I'm mentioning this because it has implications on the elevations, which is what I'm really interested in.
The interior volumes mimic the original house that was lost. The property owners would like to lift the exterior wall plates a little bit. The original house, let's see, it might be shown on the next page, the original section, that sheet 9. Yeah, there's the original section off to the left. So the problem we have with this house is that we cannot provide mechanical ductwork within the original volume. So they want their old house back, but they want to raise the plate a little bit. And when I use the asymmetrical pitch that the board did not care for, I was creating an attic over the secondary bedroom side of the house for the ductwork. And the new proposed section on sheet 7 combines the sort of original feel of the house with a single pitch over the living room, but provides attic space for the required ductwork for the new mechanical code.
Yeah, if you can go back to the sections, Josh, one more. I mean, going up, yeah, so, there you go. Usually, traditionally, the sections B and C are usually done with scissor trusses, and you can have your ductwork and so forth. And EE, maybe you can accommodate that as well. Just anyway, okay. I'll save my comments for the rest. Okay.
Okay, other questions from the board? All right, is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item? If so, please raise your hand. Seeing no hands go up, back to the board for comments. Let me start with you, Alex. You're on a roll.
Yeah, I think the roof looks definitely better. I mean, no doubt. I think it makes a lot more sense. The big gable in the entrance is a little bit challenging. I mean, all of these 3 big gables creates a question with fenestration, and that's why I was trying to figure out what happens on the inside. On the east and west, you can see how the windows are really kind of puny, considering the mass. Usually, this type of elevations have something on the gable, like if there is an attic, there's an attic venting, or maybe in this case there can be a window up there or something to unify these elevations. The front is a little bit more challenging, but it could be done the same way with like a large window and then something higher above, like a clerestory type of thing. I think that the roofs have been resolved. They're fine. The doors in the back, in the south elevation, they look, pretty good. In the front, you can see a variety of windows that don't necessarily relate to each other so well. So anyway, I think it has improved considerably. It needs to go a little bit more in terms of fenestration.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Other comments?
I just have my comments the same as last time. I like just a little bit of work on I still think the north elevation gable, the wall plane facing out under the gable on the north elevation just needs more study.
Yeah, I would
No.
concur with Josh. I think that maybe, yeah, varying some material or something. I mean, to study it, that gable is rather stark. That'd be my comment.
Anyone else?
Well, I concur with all of those comments. I think the fenestration could still use more interest. And it's true on the west and east, the windows just look tiny in that big volume. And that what's the window manufacturer that you're thinking of? Are these aluminum sliders?
These are aluminum clad.
Mhm. And the big window on the north elevation in the middle of the gable, is that all fixed glass?
No, it would be picture window with 2 side casements at the lower level, and the upper is fixed.
Hmm. Yeah, it seems like proportionally it still could use some more development. And in terms of the pop out, it looks really skinny on the sides of it. It wants to have more strength to it. Maybe goes to the ground, gets bigger, possibly change material. And then not divide it so close to the middle of that big shape. It's really it's a big statement that's not proportionally strong. So yeah, the roofs are better, but the windows could, I mean, you've got a lot of opportunity here to do more interesting windows.
All right. So this is here for conceptual, and how does the board feel about back on for preliminary approval with those comments? Okay, well, I do.
Did any of us comment that we still need further developed landscape plans that'll, with the Muelo calculations, just to make sure it's an item on there?
I mean, yeah, I'd like to see, further study on the windows, before we went too far ahead on preliminary.
Okay. But if she comes back and it is satisfactory, then it's
Well, she
okay.
can be agendized for further conceptual / preliminary.
May I make
Okay.
a comment?
In just a second here. Joe, did you have any, do you need clarification on any comments?
No, I think I have all the comments. It basically, it appears like most of the comments from previous remain, with the exception of the roof design. The change in the roof design appears appropriate. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, except maybe we didn't really mention the back patio and lightening up the columns. It doesn't seem, it wasn't brought up again, so maybe that's satisfactory now. But if anyone thinks we should bring that comment forward or wants to address that.
I mean, it's not my preference, but it's in the back. Obviously, the applicant wants it. That's why they're coming back with that. I think it's acceptable. I think it could be better other way, in a different way, but I'm not going to make a point out of that personally.
Okay, so then, yeah, we could probably remove that one, and then it would just be return with further developed landscape plan. And Amy, you had a question or comment briefly?
Oh, it doesn't really matter. I guess the minutes from our previous review said it could have come back for further conceptual and preliminary at that point, but it doesn't matter.
Okay, that's what we're proposing now. So I think you can come back for further conceptual and preliminary. So, all right, any last minute comments from the board?
I just have one question on the south elevation. To the right of the 4 doors, there's a line as if the floor plan pops out and then the roof comes lower. But on the floor plan, oh, am I missing the new floor plan? I'm looking at original floor plan. No. Oh, I see it. Okay. Never mind. There's the pop-up there in that TV room. Okay.
You know,
Okay.
on this covered patio in the back, you know, maybe you should put an opening up, you know, so that it's going to be trapping hot air in there. And you might get better ventilation by putting a, you know, a screen or an oval opening in right below the peak there. And also you might think about doing that on the east and west elevations too, if it's not a vaulted space there, but it would sort of break up that mass a little. That'd be a suggestion.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, very good. I think we can move on.
Thank you.
Item number 4, CVW Organic Farms Cannabis. This is for preliminary and final of as-built greenhouses. Let's see, this is located at 1400 and 1296 Cravens Lane. Last seen October 16th, 2020. Do we have the applicant with us today?
Yeah,
State your name.
I'm here. It's Michelle McColdridge with Shelter Architecture for CVW Organic Farms.
Thank you, Michelle. I'll go ahead and read the comments from last time. We had a 3 letters and 2 public comments, and the SBAR comments are as follows. Project appears well screened and light fixtures seem appropriate. Consider warmer or softer lights. Add more landscaping in front of wood fence with different taller species, and consider jogging the fence to offset planes of fencing along street to break linearity. The board supports removal of the barbed wire. So go ahead and give us your presentation, maybe show us what has changed and address those comments if you would.
I think do we have the rendering there that would probably reflect the street view and the most significant part of the project. I think William Bishop will be attending as well. He's the landscape architect from Arcadia Studios. And
with Arcadia Studio I'm on the call. Thank you, Michelle.
Okay, great. Hi, Will. So we're just back before you following a unanimous approval by the Planning Commission and ample support from the community, including some of the people that spoke up at our previous meeting with you. And, you know, there were a lot of revisions made to the project, most of which aren't the purview of this board, but just improved odor control, transportation management plans, and many other features that brought the community together, all in support of the project. So from there, we've just fine-tuned the plan to address some of the SBAR comments. The light fixtures were clarified to show that they're all the 3000 K warmth, which, you know, rather than the 5000, some of them had the option, which is typical for a commercial grade security light fixture and actually on the warmer end. So I hope that that is satisfied. The front fence line, so rather than what you're seeing on a lot of these projects of chain link fence, we're proposing this horizontal wood board fence made out of cedar and stained, and it gives it a more comfortable pedestrian look. The project includes street improvements. There's a new sidewalk. Then there's a planting strip, and then this wood fence. And since we last met, we've added a few jogs into the wood fence so that some of the larger plantings could be set in front of it, further softening the feel from the street for pedestrians and vehicles and so on. And then, you know, I'll leave it to Will to show some of the planting that's proposed. Do we have a color board here? That should be, maybe that's the rendering. Is that something that we can bring up onto the screen? We submitted a color board yesterday. Do you have that, Leah? well, simply addressing the selected stain for the fencing and showing the light fixture and then some of the highlighted plantings. And then besides that, I think we addressed those issues. We're here because there's some as-built greenhouses toward the back of the property. And, that's why we're looking at addressing how everything looks from the street. Right now, there's this really tall packing house, and it's been there for many years. And then this new frontage, which includes the coastal oaks and the wood fence, will really change the whole appearance along Cravens Lane. So we hope that you can support it, and we can present this to the community soon. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do you, Will, do you want to go over some landscape?
Yeah, this is Will with Arcadia Studio again. So I think when we came for the first time for conceptual, it was a rendering, so the planting looked sort of sparse. But if you turn to LP1, the planting plan, you can see we pretty much packed the planting in front of this fence. And like Michelle mentioned, we did put jogs in, and we also did put in bigger plant material. I think in the comments, it was kind of an either or thing, but we just wanted to make sure that you guys were satisfied with that. But even the fence, it's not an ugly fence, but I do understand wanting to break it up. So I think we did that pretty effectively. And yeah, the planting is mostly native and there's some succulents in there. It's basically a reflection of what the development down the road is doing. So we just sort of wanted to match that to the extent we were comfortable with and kind of make it look a little bit nicer. But yeah, we just wanted to make sure you saw that we did address those comments.
All right, thank you. To the board for questions. Anyone have questions?
Yes, I have a question. What is that? Is that a parking space, parking area in between the basically the bulb outs, both in the southern section and the northern section? Is that what that is?
I think you're looking at the area north of the main packing house, the building down on the bottom right there. Is that what you're looking at?
I'm talking about the on the street side, right? Like there is a little, gosh, maybe Chris, can you show what I'm trying to?
I think I see what you're talking about, Alex.
There?
Are you talking about?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, what are those areas? Are those parking area?
Yeah, that is a required road improvements by county and the city of Carp because it intersects both jurisdictions. And they've been asked, or the project has been required to repave, add in a new driving lane, a new parking lane, and new sidewalks along Cravens.
Okay, so, well, I'm not sure if it's a question or a comment. I mean, the little bulb outs, they are little. I mean, couldn't they just extend and have some kind of a tree, especially the ones that don't block any visibility, extend both of them by another, maybe 10 feet. And then you have a more substantial landscaping, because I noticed that all the trees and the private property, there's nothing on the right of way. Is that a City of Carpinteria requirement that they do not want any street trees? Is that the issue, or why is it like that?
Well, we are still working with the civil engineer to design the actual parking lane to submit to these roads departments. And it was our understanding the whole thing had to be parking, but we were working around a culvert at the bottom and then we matched it up at the top. So they haven't been dimensioned, and if they would allow more planting, less parking, everyone would be amicable to providing that. So hopefully we can do that.
Okay, well, I'm going to make a comment out of that, so maybe, but that will be a comment.
Okay, other questions?
No.
All right. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item? If so, please raise your virtual hand. All right, seeing none, back to the board for comments. Alex.
Yeah, I will make that comment that it seems I don't see any reason, and I would have the landscaper take the lead other than I mean, as far as design, it's kind of it's appropriate for the landscape architect to take the lead and the civil engineer to make it work, not the other way around. And I think those little pockets are wonderful, but they should be, 3 times as large and as much as possible. And if you can fit a tree, if it's possible, if the City of Carpinteria does not ban the use of street trees in the right of way, that would be really a very positive addition. So those are my comments. Other than that, also this is a shot in the dark, but traditionally you have the landscaping on between the sidewalk and the road. That's usually the way it's done, but some public work directors do not allow that type of thing. So I'm not sure what the situation in Carpinteria is. So anyway, I'm not sure it's too late in the project, in the process to do that. That would be the preferred arrangement, but at least to enlarge the so-called bulb outs.
Okay, that's a good observation. Any other comments from the board?
Actually, I have a question. What's going on right against the building in terms of landscaping? Is there something there?
Currently,
you asking a question
isn't.
or a comment? Sorry.
That was a
Small
question.
strip. This the parking is originally permitted with the DVP of the packing house. There's a small strip of grade there that is currently unplanted, but it is proposed to have planting along it.
How big is that?
It's
very
about
relatively
2 or 3
small.
feet.
Yeah, and you can't see it from the street at all. It's all hidden behind the fence and the other landscaping.
So that would just be low planting that would be not visible.
Yeah, just a low ground cover probably.
Hmm.
Maybe some jasmine or something else nice.
Okay, any other comments? All right. Josh, can you zoom in a little bit to this, to the I guess where the fence is, and just it's a little small. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so my only comment is, I guess to me, it looks like the fence, I don't know if it could move back a little bit, but you have this really thin, 4-foot planter in front of the fence, and then behind is a good 15 feet maybe. I'm just wondering if, I appreciate the movement in the fence, and actually I think that those sections where you did bump back should get considerably larger, more like, that. So increase the whatever you want to call those things, the offsets. But is it possible, and if possible, move the fence back to get more planting space between the sidewalk and the fence? Because right now you end up having, it's hard to get some sort of layered planting there to help just create that buffer. So, and then also on this other side, I think should be the same thing, right? To get some bump outs going in that fence, and if possible, moving it back towards the interior of the parcel. So that's my only comment. Otherwise, I appreciate the movements made, and I agree with Alex that these could certainly get larger, and that would really help, and that would go a long way. Okay, what else? So it sounds like you still had a few things to address. So you're here for preliminary and final. So does someone want to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion for preliminary approval, but to continue with those comments for final.
Full board?
Well, I want to make sure they happened. I guess it was
Yeah,
specific.
I think this should be a full board, dude.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree. And then also for board members, If you do want to annotate and mark up the plans, if you go up to view options, you can go down to annotate and it brings up a little window full of, you know, things to use, and you go to draw and you can draw on it, or text. Okay, that's it. So yes, thank you. Does someone want to second that motion?
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Kaylee had to step down for that one. Joe, do you need any clarification on comments? Should have done that before.
No, I think I got all of them.
Okay, very good. Then we'll see you next time for final approval at full board. Okay, thanks. Moving on, item number 5. This is the Sharma residence. For further conceptual review of a revision and enhancement to the existing landscaping. There's currently a residence on the property. Project will be less than 50 cubic yards of grading. And it's located at 4055 Cuervo Avenue in Hope Ranch. Last seen August 14th, 2020. And do we have the applicant with us? Please
Yes,
state your name.
Philip Suding.
Okay, thanks, Philip. We have, again, I'll go ahead and read through the comments since they're brief, and then I'll hand it over to you. Plans should provide details that show how the site walls will be hidden. Return with site photos, and return with site plan showing newly proposed gate elevation. Return with landscape plan that includes plant type, sizes, quantities, irrigation, etc. And again, this is here for further conceptual. So Phil, whenever you're ready.
All right, if you could go to sheet, the second sheet, L1.0. Okay, this is the layout plan, and the previous plan that we had a much more extensive wall system. If you look down in the lower right quadrant, it created a flat meadow there. There is an existing wall that is sort of angular right below the existing enlarged patio. You see where the 6 pepper trees are, the green ones? There was a larger wall system there. We've eliminated that wall. We've simplified the plan. I think we're demonstrating in our planting plan how we'll be screening that wall, or the cart path walls that are coming down from the cabana. If you look in the middle left, you'll see the cabana, and you'll see that serpentine path with steps coming down to just sort of provide some circulation around the property, and also down to a shed for maintenance. Shed will be matching the siding and roofing of the existing remodel. Let's see, what else do I want to point out? The driveway will remain the same as is. The solar and the pool, the solar panels have already been approved. The pool, spa, and pool equipment are under a separate permit. We also have a pergola, and if you look in the upper left-hand corner, you can see an example of that pergola structure. It's very clean and modern. I think the next sheet. Here are some enlargements of specific areas and a gate elevation detail, pergola elevation, and a wall section. Let's start with the upper left. That's an enlargement of the entry gate area in plan and the trash enclosure. To the right of that is section AA, and you can see the of the walls there, the section driveway, and then the existing driveway cheek wall. Next one to the left middle row is the entry gate detail. It's going to be a semi-gate. Hope Ranch guidelines and preferences. The next one to the right is an enlargement of the planned pergola. And then below that is the elevation of the pergola. There is going to be an outdoor fireplace. And to the right of that pergola elevation, you'll see an outline of the existing house. The maximum height of the pergola is, I believe it's what, 7 feet? I can't read. So that's going to be that pergola we saw an example of on the previous. Next sheet, please. The irrigation, I think there's too much there that be interested in. Next sheet, please. This is the palette is very simple. You can see the plant legend. There's not a lot of plant material listed there. There are a couple existing palm trees that are going to be removed. There are no oak trees that are being touched. It's all the walls are screened, as you can see on that serpentine cart. And we're adding some fruit trees. We're adding some California peppers. There are already some California peppers on site. And we're adding some palm trees. Some existing carrot woods, the enlarged terrace area. The lawn area will all be synthetic turf and large swaths of ground cover. Very simple, clean, to match the architecture of the house. Next sheet, please. This is the lighting plan. It's all going to be low voltage light. You can see the red triangles. There's not too much. We're not lighting much up by the street. It's all dark sky compliant. It's mainly just for circulation. We're not really highlighting any trees or doing anything resort or hotel-like. I think, Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation. Keep it simple for you.
All right, thank you, Phil. To the board for questions, anyone? No one has questions, right? Okay.
That could be good or bad.
All right, so to the public, does anyone have anyone from the public would like to make comments on this? If so, please raise your hand. Seeing no one, bring it back to the board for comments. Anyone want to make comments? Actually, I do have a quick question. It says paving example. Is that concrete, stamped and colored?
No, those are actual modular pavers.
Okay.
And that's the preferred paving material for that enlarged terrace on the south side of the house. That's by the pergola and outside the kitchen and by the pool and the cabana. And you can't really see too well in that picture, but there is a slight bit of texture on that stone. We didn't want to just use a plain flat, non-textured, so.
Yeah, and the pathways are, and steps, what's that material?
The steps would be concrete and the paths would be gravel. The cart path, the serpentine path, asphalt.
Okay. Very good. And the driveway existing pavers?
Driveway's existing. I did submit photos if you wanted to take a look at the photos. I think you asked for them last time and they got left out of the set or the submittal, but they should be there now. If you don't have them, I can email them to you.
Okay, did we get those, Leah? Can we just go through those real quick, Josh?
Sure.
And anyone else have, where are we, comments?
The house is not being changed, is that correct?
The house has already gone through or is going through a remodel.
Oh.
So that was something that you guys had previously looked at through.
Oh, okay.
So I need to explain the photos. They all have got cap on them, but if you want me to any questions, be happy to.
So all that brick goes away and it turns to those pavers.
Right.
Yeah.
You can see the trunk of the carrotwood tree there.
Looks like they
And
have
then you can see the
terrible
existing retaining wall. That's
So
the
just-
existing pool, which we removed and renovated, replaced.
Oh, it was, okay.
Too bad they don't have a good view.
I know, it's terrible. All right, any other comments? I had one comment on the landscape plan. You have, I think, those 5 peppers. And to me, I think they could just be shifted back and forth a little bit so it's less linear.
Staggered, sure.
Staggered a little bit more, yeah. You have, it looks like you have plenty of room for that. So I think it would just help to not create a straight line of trees.
No problem.
That's all I had, though. Anyone else have comments?
Yeah, I think that there's an awful lot of paving, you know, in a south elevation, and which can be very hot. I wonder if you might consider pulling it away from the building to make a little planter strip where it's possible. And I think that, you know, it would, you know, help that instead of butting the paving up to the building.
Josh, can you go to the site plan?
May I comment on that, or do you want me to wait?
I think you can. John, it looks like there is a planter up against the house in a lot of areas.
We do have planters against the house where we don't have circulation coming out of the house. Obviously, you can see that this is a you know, very good view, very nice place to spend outdoors. So we're really trying to blend in, extend the indoor-outdoor feeling. But where we can do planters, where there is no circulation from the indoors, we have done planters.
And then I think part of that is that the rendering, it just looks heavy with all the black lines. It makes it look very heavy. And real quick question, what are these trees? Are those existing?
Those are the carrotwood.
Okay, so they're existing. I was just wondering if the planters could get a little bit larger around those. Because that's.
I think they probably could.
Yeah, so I guess the comment from John might be just find ways to reduce paving and increase planting where possible, especially where you have existing trees that you'll be encroaching on.
If you look at go back to the pictures, you can see that some I may not have gotten the right exact picture, but you can see that some of the existing paving does come right up to those trees, pretty much in that configuration that I've you know, shown. But certainly I can maximize planting and minimize paving. I think there's room for that.
Okay, very good. Any other comments? This is here for further conceptual. I think that we could probably have this return preliminary final on consent.
Yes.
You're gonna need WELO calcs, right? Still, and otherwise it looks like you're pretty close.
Yeah, I think the project has been simplified a lot. We liked it the first time. It just seemed like it had a lot of stuff, and it's a lot more clear now, and the pictures help. I agree with the comment on the paving could be shrunk a little bit, and this is ready for preliminary and final. Yeah.
On consent?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, very good. Any, Joe, do you need clarification on anything? Pretty straightforward.
No, I think everything was pretty clear.
Okay, and you're all squared away. Phil, any questions?
No questions for me, and I appreciate your service, and thank you very much for the review.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to item number 6. Does anyone need a break? It looks like 11:15 currently. Do you want to take like a 5 or 7 minute break? Since maybe we can get through this without a lunch.
Okay.
Sure.
All right, so let's reconvene at like 11:20 or so, 11:21 and a half.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you. Okay. Let us reconvene with item number 6, MRE Lot 8 LLC. This is first time seeing this project, here for conceptual review of a 6,881 square foot new residence, 932 square foot attached garage, and 55 square foot detached pool cabana on a vacant parcel, 680 cubic yards of cut, and same for fill, so balanced at 210 Montecito Ranch Lane in Summerlin area. Is the applicant with us? Please state your name for the record.
Yes, Michael Stroh with DMHA.
Okay, hi, Michael.
Hi, guys.
Go ahead. When you're ready, you can tell Josh where you want to go in the plans.
Okay, sure. Josh, if you could bring up our I believe it's page 3 in the plans to show the site plan.
He might not be back from break.
Still, I'm glad you guys took a break because, you know, I know how everybody gets after 11 o'clock. Everybody's all hungry and grumpy.
Yeah, angry.
So,
I think it's better to come after lunch, so it's even happier then.
No worries, guys. So, all right. Josh's mouse is moving, so I assume he's on somewhere. Looks like anyway. He was.
Maybe not. Josh, are you back? I'll send him a text.
Sure.
What page did you say? L3.
Yeah, I think page 3 would probably work. Let's see. Let's go back and look. Actually, 4. Sorry.
4 is the site plan, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 3 is fine. Let's start with 3. That's the photos. So.
Yeah.
All right. What else is going on?
You know.
Hanging in there, too busy like everybody else.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of not even funny at this point.
Yeah.
So, but
better than
hey, that's all right. That's better than not having stuff to do. So, because we've all been there too. So.
All right. Well, oh, there we go.
We're back.
There he is. Yeah.
Which project are we
Hey,
doing?
Josh.
You're on it. So go to that one and then page 3.
You can go to page 3, please.
Hey, Michael, sorry.
No worries. So.
So page 3.
Yeah, it's just, there it goes.
Okay. So welcome everybody. Go ahead and get started here. So this is lot 8. There right now, you guys have approved houses and they're either constructed or under construction on lots 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. This lot 1 is still not constructed or not even designed, and it's off in the corner. This one sits just behind Lot 2, which you guys saw about 18 months ago or so, which you can actually see in the top photo under construction here. So this one sits quite a bit further back from the road. It actually touches the cul-de-sac that's both on the top road and on the bottom road. So Montecito Ranch Place and Montecito Ranch Lane. It actually touches both. From the upper cul-de-sac, it's actually sloped down quite a bit. The photo at the bottom of the page in the middle, this is actually standing in the middle of the site at the bottom, near the bottom cul-de-sac. You can actually see how much the site slopes up towards the top cul-de-sac. The site was part of the original development. It has been benched, and our intention is to build a new house on that benched area and just kind of nestle it in into the site without doing a whole huge substantial amount of grading or anything. Josh, if you could go to the next sheet. So this is a 5-acre site. And what you can see here is you see Montecito Ranch Lane and Montecito Ranch Place with the cul-de-sacs kind of hitting the site at the corners of each. We have a development envelope similar to all the other sites. And then essentially, the northern 3+ acres of the site is entirely protected as open space. And there's a trail that goes through there and things like that. The benched area in the middle of the site, in the middle of the development envelope, sits at about 222 in terms of elevation. For reference, the finished floor height on the Lot 2 house, which is under construction, is at 230. So we're going to sit, 6 to 8 feet below that one. But we've rotated the house in order to take advantage of down the coast views towards Ventura versus straight shot out views towards the islands. So if you could go to the next page, please. Actually, go to the next one. I'm sorry. There we go. So this is a little rotated, but as you come in the site, we're actually going to enter the site because there's such a steep drop off from the upper road. We didn't want to do that much grading. So we actually came off of the lower road, which is Montecito Ranch Lane. And basically we have a long sweeping driveway that would come up and then tuck in behind the new house, so that basically you get that nice kind of estate quality feel, similar to what we did at 2, although this is a little smaller than that. And as you would come up the driveway, the slope's about maybe 10%. And then basically you'd pass the little pool cabana, which it says 55 square feet. That's not the actual enclosed area. It actually has a much larger roof that's about maybe 500 square feet. And we may enclose that. We're still working on that. The pool area, and then you'd come up to the house and come up behind the house. There would be an ADU in the northern corner of the site. But you come into a motor court behind the house, and the garages would be tucked all the way in the back. And so there would be some retaining on the back side of the site, and we've got some renderings to show you what that would look like. If you go to the next page, Josh. So we've got some site sections to give you guys an idea of what existing grade looks like and the new heights. This site would normally have a higher height limit than some of the other ones, but because it does have such a pitch within 100 feet, county considers it hillside ridge line, so we get a 16-foot height limit plus the 3 feet for pitched roofs. So we've only got 19 feet. I know you're going to hear from Summerland BAR, which we didn't really have a hearing. They commented on it, that the house could be much taller. and they'd like to see it much taller, and so would we. But there really isn't the height on this site in order to do that. So we've bumped up against that 19 feet in a couple of locations. If you could go to the next sheet, these are three-dimensional renderings. The next two sheets really are three-dimensional renderings of what this is going to look like. At the top left-hand corner, this is what it would look like as you're, in a car coming up around the back side of the house. It's very traditional in form. We've got a lot of different roof pieces that we've kind of interlocked, but we've done a pretty good job of sort of varying the plate heights and kind of breaking up the massing so that we don't have these huge roofs. You come into the central courtyard and you get a nice kind of blocked entry, clad in stone with a nice precast surround with some punched windows. And then on either side, you get this nice colonnade. On one side, it's fully enclosed, and on the other side, it actually is a little bit proud to give give some nice shadowing on that side. The pictures at the bottom, you can see as you come up the driveway, you can see the form of the house, and then you can kind of get a sense of what the overall feel is on the one on the lower left-hand corner. The house is set on the site both to minimize the amount of grading that we're doing into the hillside, but also in the middle photo, we didn't have the background, we just used a general background, but the house was basically staring directly at Rincon Hill down on the south end of Carp, or on the eastern end of Carp. So you get nice ocean views in that direction. If we were to face it directly towards the ocean, we'd be looking at the backside of lot 2, and that wouldn't be great. If you go to the next sheet, please. Here's kind of an aerial to kind of give you guys an idea of how the massing breaks up, and then as well as the pool cabana down the hill, and then the ADU that's tucked up into the corner there. So again, simple details, but we've used some stone cladding in different places. We're going to do exposed rafter tails with T&G. We're going to do a blend mix of Spanish tile on the roof, simple stone chimney caps, and clad window system that would probably be like dark bronze. Next sheet, please. So floor plan wise, as you come up, again, you come up the driveway, you've got the motor court, the garages are all the way tucked into the back. You've got the long kind of colonnade across the house. And then basically what it does is it gives every room in the house except for two of the smaller bedrooms, just some pretty dramatic ocean views down the coast. Really takes advantage of the site. We've broken up the forms. We've got some nice covered areas. The middle section where you come into the foyer, as you come out, then you come out the big set of doors, that's a covered patio in the center. Essentially we've got the house kind of divided into sort of the main kind of public area and then the bedroom wings on this northern side. The pool cabana, you can see it down there by the pool. It's set down about another 5 feet from the house, 4 or 5 feet. Right now, it's just planned to be an outdoor fireplace with a roof and then a bathroom. But the owners are looking at potentially closing the whole thing in as a bedroom or not as a bedroom, but as a game room or whatever. We're still working on that. Let's see. Can we go to the next sheet? Actually, I think Josh stepped away for a second.
Sorry, the UPS delivery.
There we go. So the roof, again, we've broken it up into as many pieces as we possibly can, so that we don't have, so that we don't have these big, huge, massive roofs. We have a mixture of gables and hips, trying to differentiate them and offset them in ways to break up the massing of the house. We do have a couple of flat cricket areas, one in particular in the center, but they're really, you really can't see this even from the cul-de-sac above because of the way the lots are situated. You're not going to see this from anywhere other than back up maybe from Toro Canyon, which is quite a ways away. Next sheet, please. So here's our elevations where we started to articulate the window breakups and the massings and the proportioning of everything. You can see that the entry side of the house has this kind of the big central structure, and then the colonnade along flanking either side. And then the back side of the house, it really opens up, but we've still left, it's always a question when you have these nice ocean views, is how much glass is too much, and also, how much meat do you have left over in the walls? And so we've tried to be very diligent about how we're doing that, so that that we're not doing something that just looks like an all glass house on the ocean side, and be true to the style, to where the openings look a little bit more punched. And I think all we've got left over from there, we've got some sections that show the next two sheets to show how we've met the height limits, and kind of just the general massing across the site. Could you go to the next sheet, Josh? Sorry. Yeah. So, we've got vaulted ceilings and things like that. Most of the plates are in the 9-foot range, but we do have some sections that are 10, and then the central piece is 12. We don't have, again, we don't have the height limit to go anything taller, but we've tried to at least differentiate it across the house so that it's fairly well broken up. So. And with that, I will turn it over to the board.
Okay, thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
Good presentation. So board members, questions? Starting with Mr. Peugeot.
No questions, thanks.
Okay, Ms. Grubb,
I don't have any questions.
Mr. Verdiak.
No questions.
Okay, Ms. Froscher.
No questions.
And Mr. Bloomer.
Nope.
Okay, nor I. All right, so public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item? I know we have, I believe, a letter from the Summerlin board, which I didn't see yesterday anyway in the file, but Josh, maybe you can check that out.
Yeah, it's in there now.
Okay. I always download everything to a folder on my desktop, so sometimes I don't have it if it comes in late.
Me too. I have the same problem.
That's why we want everything in by Wednesday. There we go. So in summary, they're looking maybe to have the massing massage to create more interest. Parallel ridges creates a bunch of saddles for drainage. Several homes looking down on this site. It's going to look strange. Saddle could be covered. Please show the trail locations as established. I think that's a good call.
Okay.
As built survey Sorry, so are the contours shown established by a recent as-built survey or from an earlier grading map? And do you happen to know offhand, Michael?
Actually, yeah, there's a couple things. So the trails are actually shown on our overall site plan. It's about 200 feet down to the trail, and the trail has a 125-foot setback. But our development envelope itself, everything between the trail and our development envelope is part of the open space preserve, so it wouldn't be developed anyway. And the trail elevation down there from our site is about 40 or 50 feet below where we are at. The survey is part of the overall grading map for the site. There hasn't been any grading on this particular site in a number of years since the last time they got hit with 2011, whenever all that happened with lots 5, 6, and 7 as far as all the grading on top of the hill. So they had to generate a new grading survey at that time, and that's the survey that we're using. But it hasn't changed since then, as far as I've ever been noted. Our topo map matches what you see out on the site.
Right.
So.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
And then they've just asked for landscape plans, lighting, color, materials boards.
Sure.
So is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item? Otherwise, we can move on. I see James is there if you wanted to add anything from your letter, or if the letter stands on its own, that's fine. Okay, hand went up. So James, go ahead, you're muted. If you want to talk, we'll give you 2 minutes.
I don't need any more than to just say that we've spoken with Michael, and he's agreed to address some of our concerns.
Okay, great. Very good. So let's bring it back to the board then for comments. Anyone?
I'll start. I think it's similar to the other projects that we've seen for this development. They are awfully large and very formal, but it seems to be the way they are. So, I just have some comments, suggestions of how to maybe make the architecture a little bit more interesting. I understand we're all familiar with the issues with height and how you have the applicant needs to break up the roof into smaller pieces, so it stays within the height limit. I would suggest that maybe using a few more gables might help. I see that in the north elevation, you gotta go to the previous drawing and go to page 12, I think is the one that shows the elevations. I think maybe having a few more gables might help. It seems like the one in the north elevation, that the double gable seems to work well, and the same on the south. And in the other long elevations, maybe I understand that you have already worked out that stone element in the middle of the west. So I just think that more gables will help to break it up. Then the other comment is on the breakfast nook, which is, where do you see that? On the east elevation. It seems like there the space between the windows and you seem to have a cornice detail in there. I gotta blow it up to see it. You see, there's a cornice detail, but there's no room left for visually. It seems like the windows are getting too close to the it's just a minor detail, but it seems like it doesn't look traditional that way. The third comment is on the color. I'm not sure if you're going with a white color shown in the sketches. In the renderings, it seems like you should tone it down. That's what we usually ask in this type of houses. The last comment is on the tile. I think you said about, usually, I guess some people disagree. It's just like, I guess I sat for too long in the Landmass Commission in Santa Barbara, and we always look at tile as the courthouse tile. It's just one color. It's not the plan. It's just like one tile. So I just think that to me represents the type of roofing for our area. So anyway, so those are my comments. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have comments?
Yeah. I think that when you're coming up the driveway and before you reach the major court, there's a bedroom door there that would appear as if it were the front door. It would seem to me that that door, which goes into a bedroom, should be either downplayed or, changed somehow. In order to give it a different orientation, you'd have to move the bathroom. But it just seems that coming up the driveway, that you're going to get a false impression at first before you reach the main motor court. And that's one comment. And then I go back to the comment I made before, the capstone on the entry gate always seems a little awkward when it's flat. It seems like it should have some finishing touch to it, either a pyramid or a low pyramid shape, or some detail which finishes it off. I mean, I don't know, maybe that's not that important, but I bring it up anyway. Okay.
All right, thank you, John. Any other comments?
Yeah, I've got a few comments. I was also thinking that there could be some interest added by more gables, and even on the rear elevation where there's that gable at the big living room, but it's kind of all alone. The hip roof over the covered patio is nice, but maybe you look at a gable roof over, I guess, what is that? The kitchen family room. And then I agree also about the nook, that maybe one way you can help this is by introducing some timber or wood elements. And that nook is a good place to add something like that in the Mediterranean style of wood and glass. And I agree with John too, because that bedroom on the driveway side, it's very forward in the plan. So it will be very close to your approach compared to the entry. And the entry, I don't know if it's the CAD of the stone, but there's something proportionally that looks like you could improve upon it in terms of the size of the door and the surround, and then the windows on either side. Maybe it's that the stone feels close to the eave, but not connected to it. Could be more elegant if it spreads out a little bit. Anyway, that's something to look at. And then one last question is, what's the height of the retaining walls at the back of the motor court? What would you say those are?
So generally they're about 5 feet. I think, and part of the renderings, I mean, we've got some steps shown, but we would do slopes or smaller steps, but because we haven't quite worked it out yet. But there shouldn't be any sections that are taller than about 7 feet or so, and they're only in the back, in the very, very back. See, you actually see in the middle shot here, it's only right there. Generally, these are all about 5 to 6 feet, except for that one little section there. And we're going to work through that with our grading to make sure that we can eliminate that, obviously. we're still working on all those little site pieces, and as we dig into the landscaping, we'll get into that. But it's pretty minor as far as, you know, we're not talking about 10-foot tall walls behind this thing or anything like that, which we've seen in some of the other projects. So.
Okay. And then just the last thing is, I know the Summerlin board was asking for story poles in consistency with all the other houses in this development. So I would suggest that that's a good idea.
Okay, good. Thank you, Val. Anyone else comments?
Yeah, I make one more comment. Same as for the hardscape in the back of the house butts up to the building. I think that, you know, it's always better, even in a structural sense, to have a little planter strip between the hardscape and the house, you know, except where you have access. So I think, you know, you could think about that, make sure you don't have, you know, too much hardscape out there.
Okay.
Just have a quick comment, Chris. Generally, the top right image here on the screen, the entry element, I guess it's the west elevation, right, Mike? I just think it needs study. It feels a little bit like it's not quite there yet. Like the rest of the house has a certain feel. I'm just not, I don't know if it's the proportions or the, just doesn't seem to read. I don't want to get into a discussion about what's wrong with it. I think I don't know if it's wrong or right or whatever. I just think it needs to be studied, and I'm sure you'll figure out what to do there. But just to have you put your eye on that, see if you can work with that a little bit to see if it can bring it around. And just perhaps the center element needs to be wider. I don't know. I'll let you decide. Good.
Josh, what was that comment again? I kind of missed that.
He's talking about the design of the entry, the elevation entry, the entry elevation, which is the stone element on the what is it, the north side, and the west side, right?
It's the west.
Yeah. And what I think I agree with that comment. I think but the fact that the windows they have an arch, which kind of mimic the other larger windows. I think that's a mistake. I think it's a square window would work better there. It's a small detail.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Could I ask a question, actually? I know you guys are still in comments, but, you know, usually this is a fairly open discussion with you guys. So is that okay?
Sure.
So with regard to the middle element, I mean, I would, in terms of re-looking at it, one of the things is because of the height limits on the site, would you guys, if I could make it taller in a way that would, again, not look ridiculous, but just give it a little bit more massing so that I can get a little bit better proportioning, you know, in terms of horizontal versus vertical. I mean, that area of roof that would project over the height limit would be maybe, you know, 200, you know, 150 to 200 square feet. Would you guys be amenable to that?
Well, don't you? Are you not allowed to have 400 square feet above that height? That area isn't that allowable? There's a provision.
It's discretionary.
Oh, it's discretionary.
It's usually discretionary, so you guys have to say it's okay.
I think
I'd love to make it taller.
Considering how large the footprint of this house is, I mean, having something to break that up a little bit.
Everybody knows my opinion on that. Make it bigger. Have it actually do what architecture is supposed to do instead of cowering under some artificial imposed nonsense. You know, I mean, yeah, absolutely. It needs to work, and it's a matter of good architecture. For me, that's important. I think sometimes these height limits end up squashing buildings, and they look absolutely stupid.
Couldn't also have maybe like a tower with with a flat roof or something like that, something different because of the stone element, completely like, I don't know. If it needs to be different, it could be different then, including the roof.
Well, we're happy to study it, so.
Yeah, okay, take a look. Other comments, Kaylee?
I just have the general landscape comment to call out your hardscape materials and landscape and wall materials, retaining walls.
Okay.
I have another comment, general comment on landscaping. I noticed that I think we've seen some of these houses already built or landscaped, and there seems to be also an East Coast type of landscaping style. There's this grass, there are palm trees, there I don't know. Does it have to be like that? Can it be more like everything else that we have around here? Can it be more Western, more Santa Barbara like? It's a question, a comment, I guess.
Okay, something to think about. Okay, I just have two minor comments. I agree with John. I think the patio layout in the back needs further study. It's a little strange how it, maybe Josh, if you go to the site plan, just, I don't know, it's very large in some areas, and then I guess just, and too small in others. This right in through here is kind of awkward to me. That whole deal right in there is kind of strange. And I think, as John had stated, if you add a little planter around that, you can, I don't know, somehow bring this in and have a pathway around. But as it stands, it's a little strange. So that'll probably come, with the landscape plan. And then as far as landscape goes, I mean, when I first looked at that, this plan, I was thinking how unfortunate it is to be sandwiched between two cul-de-sacs. So I guess you're going to want, obviously, to have some screening for privacy. So that's going to be an important thing to be looking at while maintaining views. So we'll just see what you come up with the landscape plan. And then lastly, I guess the fire turnaround looks exceptionally long. Is that due to the fact that it's on a curve, and was that looked at by the fire department?
Yeah, if we can pull it back, we will, but we had to add that in order to get our hose links in order to get that up there without starting to cut way into the hillside. And
what's that material?
Well, we'd like to actually have the driveway come up and then basically go to the compressed gravel that the Carp-Summerlin Fire allows, so that it's not some hardscape surface, so that it's permeable.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's differentiated even in the hatch pattern on here, just so that it's gravel versus versus a chip seal or concrete or anything like that.
Right.
So
very good. So that's it. Any other comments from the board?
So actually, I have a couple of questions and just some clarifications. Actually, if we can go forward. So the cul-de-sacs have that existing 5 foot tall Myoporum hedge around them, and then there's intermittent olive trees around all of those as well that are existing. And we have the locations of all of those, so we'll make sure that we show those on our landscape plans and things like that.
Okay.
And then I know one of the questions you guys are going to have. So when we did lot 2, which is actually one of the most visible lots, that was the last house you guys saw. You guys didn't require story poles. I mean, we're willing to do them if you want them. This house is buried much further back and it's lower on the site, on the overall site. But if you guys want them, we'll do them. It's really up to you.
Okay, Alex was voting for. How do the other members feel?
No, I was voting against story poles.
Oh, against story poles. Okay.
In general, I mean, we've already seen several of these houses I don't know what, I know what 19 feet looks like. It's a long house. So, I mean, what I'm saying is like, what if I don't like the story post? What am I going to say? Shorten the house because it's not going to get any shorter, any lower. So instead of being, you know, just cut the whole wing off. Is that where we want? Is that where we want the conversation to go? I'm just saying.
Right. No, I agree, Alex. I don't think in this case it's necessary. There's not too much that you can do and change other than making the thing smaller, but it is kind of nestled in to the hillside, as Michael had said. So I'm fine without story poles.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. So any other comments? Joe, do you need clarification?
I mean, I'll defer to the group. I think Summerlin was asking for story poles, but we can make our own decision.
Well, I mean, we could request a site visit, but I'm not opposed to that. But I really don't think story poles are going to tell us much. I think we're going to be asking for screening from public views anyway, and it is screened from some public views. So, yeah, I don't know if that's going to, the story poles are going to benefit much. How does the board feel about site visit? I guess you won't really see much other than where the site is. But
no, I don't think it's necessary. You know, it's a long, low building, and we already know that.
Yeah.
So what's the point?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, very good. Joe, do you need clarification on any comments?
Yeah. So with not no requirement for a site visit or story poles, does that mean that the board is supportive of the general architectural style and the size, bulk, and scale?
Yes.
It can
Okay.
come back on for preliminary next time. Also, I haven't heard from the rest of the board about colors. Do you agree with me or not?
I do. Yeah, definitely don't want bright white. I think it should be toned down.
Oh, no. No, we understand. It's, you know, the rural stuff has got to be the earth tones. So,
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And so I would say further conceptual / preliminary, because we don't have a landscape plan yet, and there may be some, you know, changes to the entry and heights, and so I don't think that changes much. But if anyone objects, let me know. Otherwise, I think further conceptual / preliminary when you return with and bring the landscape plan. And I'm sorry, Joe, you did need clarification on the comments, or no?
No, I think I got everything on this one.
Okay, good. All right. Very good. Thank you. We'll move on to the next item.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, item number 7, the Hill Addition. This is another new project for conceptual review of a 2,500 square foot residential renovation and 500 square foot carport addition. There is currently a 984 square foot 2-bedroom residence with a 570 square foot storage and carport on the lower level, and 556 Whitney Avenue in the Summerlin area. And have the applicant here. If so, please state your name for the record.
Yes, my name is Jared DeGancy with Anacapa Architecture.
And we also have Jeff April with Anacapa Architecture, despite my Zoom, though logged in as myself, saying Jared DeGancy.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. So go ahead and with your presentation whenever you're ready.
Excellent. All right. Well, board chair, thank you for your time. We are excited to show you guys our new project at 2557 Whitney Avenue in Summerlin, California. If you could skip to the second page, please. So if you want to zoom in down on the vicinity map, you'll notice if you guys are not familiar with the Summerlin area, it is uphill from downtown area. Oops. Yeah, that. Perfect. Yep, it's
there you go.
Not a problem. It's uphill from downtown Summerlin and runs parallel to the 101. Our project is at the eastern end of Whitney Avenue within the larger urban grid of Summerlin. Perfect. And then if you want to go to page 3, please. On page 3, we have photos of the existing site and property, and you'll see currently there's existing a single-story main residence with a basement below it. The main story is approximately 950 square feet, and the basement underneath is approximately 550 square feet. For our project, we're proposing a remodel to the main floor, expanding it to 1,400 square feet, remodeling the basement floor, which would expand the basement to 850 square feet. And then lastly, we're proposing to add another level on top of the main level, which will include a master suite of 350 square feet and a 500 square foot carport, which will be facing Whitney Ave. On these photos in the top left specifically, you'll notice the surrounding houses to the east and west, and also in the northwest are tall multi-story massings. And then lastly, wanted to point out that the driveway on site is currently double wide shared driveway between the neighbor and our residence. And there's no recorded agreement for access and use between the two landowners.
Yeah, there tends to be both landowners there, our project and the one next door. Nothing recorded for easements, just a shared sort of handshake agreement. And we've approached both neighbors to the east and west. Both are amenable to the project, both good standing with the neighbors. That driveway right now is a really large impervious surface. So you'll see we have some plans to reduce that. And it's about 24 feet wide at the widest and sort of cutting into 20 feet, 18 feet at the narrower areas.
Great. If you go to the next page, please. And this page, we have images of the surrounding neighborhoods surrounding our house at 2557 Whitney Avenue. You'll see of all the houses, there's from the uphill side of the projects, they appear as single story, and on the downhill side, they appear as multi-story masses as they cascade down the hill, with large areas of glass also facing towards the coast. From a roof standpoint, there appears to be a mix of slope roofs, shallow slope roofs, and flat roofs throughout the neighborhood. And building materials range from wood cladding to stucco.
And we're familiar with Summerlin and the fact that, you know, Summerlin tends to be a little bit more of an eclectic characterization of the neighborhood. And it tends to have a great, like, it tends to fit in with a more weathered, naturally weathering exterior material palette. I hate to sort of use I like the idea of like a beach shack vibe, but it definitely sort of originated from that initial weathered cedar siding, way more informal than something, you know, Spanish or, you know, sort of white stucco that you'd see probably more in Santa Barbara.
You go to page 5, please. All right, and so here's our existing site survey with an underlay of the existing satellite photo. You'll see that the property is situated on a steeply sloping site, roughly approximate about 20% average for that slope. You can see that shared driveway is accessed along the west property line, and then there's a parking space at the southern end adjacent to the basement. And currently, as Jeff had mentioned, it's being used by both both parties for access down to the south end. Looking at the adjacent residences, they appear to be built to both the north and south setbacks. And as it is currently existing, there's no pedestrian access at the southern end of the site from Emerson, but we are proposing a pedestrian gate. If you could go to page 6, please. And so this is 2 different site plans. The site plan on the left is proposed landscaping, and site plan on the right is more of a look at the roof plan. And so as we mentioned previously, we're looking to position the carport on the Whitney facing side at the top northern end. And with relocating the parking to the northern end of the site. We are trying to reclaim part of the western edge of site of the driveway to remove some of the more impermeable surfaces and add landscaping to that area while still retaining a bit of space to accommodate the neighbor where they still have a plenty wide drivable space down to the southern end of their site.
Right now, we're showing the landscape as basically taking up the area from face of building to the interior setback. It's just a starting point for right now. Rob Madej is the landscape architect that's on this that the clients have very recently executed. So we're going to be working with the neighbor on what feels right. We're showing a conservative approach, kind of holding that setback, which gives the neighbor an additional 6 feet for maneuverability. We'd like to reclaim as much of that as possible. Because one of our goals for the project as a design is to make sure that any hardscape that's associated with the new driveway equals the amount of hardscape removed from the existing driveway. We're trying to have a site that has a lower amount of impermeable surface than what's currently there.
And then for the remodeling, we're essentially adding 15 feet to the south on both the main floor and the basement level. And so the idea is to get the basement level to kind of extend more into the landscape and the main level to gain a little bit more square footage. We've made sure as we move up the site, and you'll see later in the elevations, to step back these plans to reduce the mass, bulk, and scale of the overall additions.
On the left, or sorry, the right here, you can see the red dashed line is the extents of the current residence. The line farthest to the south is the current overhang. The line that's paged north of that is the current glazing. So we're just trying to shift it to the south without really infringing on the neighbor's glass line. They both have decks that extend beyond this.
Yep, and you'll see also on the roof plan, we're proposing a potential vegetated roof on top of the main level on the left-hand image. And then on the right-hand side plan, we're showing the potential for photovoltaic on top of the new second floor top level master suite and garage.
Yeah, we think it's pretty important that that green roof on the main level be, you know, a design aspect of this project, because there are opportunities from the site photos that you may remember. You could catch glimpses of the roof from Whitney. So rather than just having a large gravel ballast field, we are proposing the probably 4-inch trays from Live Roof, which would be sedums and alliums, as opposed to grasses.
Go to page 7, please, the next page. All right, here we're looking at the basement floor plan. On the left is the, oh, I'm sorry, page 7. You gotta go up one. Looks like we went too far. Perfect. Page on the left-hand side, we have the existing basement level, which is currently a storage unit and laundry room. And on the right-hand side, we have the proposed extension. And so we are proposing to remodel the existing area for 2 bedrooms, a entry area with laundry and a bathroom, and then extend 15 feet to the south to include a living room TV area with a small wet bar, and then also stairs up to that main level. And then just south of that, we have an exterior deck, and then we're using a storage massing to kind of create privacy between the western neighbor and the residents. Also, just to note, that area of deck is pulled back from the face of the building 11 feet, so it's actually underneath an overhang, and the idea of that is to reduce glare and lantern effect from the south. Let's see. I think if we could go to the next page, please. All right, and once again, on the left-hand side is the existing residence, and on the right-hand side is the proposed addition. North of grid line C, we are proposing it's going to be a light remodel of what's existing, converting the existing bedrooms to bedrooms, but then adding an ensuite bathroom and a powder room. And then south of grid line C, we are proposing to add a stair up to the new the new second level above, and then also extending that living room space to the south to expand and give them a bit more room, and then also including a stair down to that basement level. Similar to the basement floor, the exterior deck has an overhang, and so we're pulling the face of glass roughly 12 to 11 feet more to the north, also in an effort to reduce glare and lantern effect. And then speaking to the east side of the house, most of that east side of the perimeter, if you can remember from the satellite images, is thick greenery. We think it's a podocarpus hedge, and so we have windows going into the greenery. So both eastern site and this site will maintain privacy. And then the west, we've tried to selectively locate somewhat smaller windows to kind of still let daylight in, but also minimize exposure between sites and also maximize privacy between the western neighbor and this.
Yeah, there's just no landscape between these two neighbors. So, you know, as part of the good neighboring guidelines, we're trying to make sure that any window that faces west to that really exposed neighbor, you know, is a sensitive location. Really just, you know, a larger focus to openings facing east, which is the podocarpus hedge, and windows facing south, which is the ocean view.
Yeah, exactly. Could we please go to the next page? All right, page 9. This is the, so this level is an all new addition on top of the existing main floor. We have that garage that faces Whitney Avenue. And then with that adjacent to the garage, we have stairs that are at street level that would go down onto the main level, which you would take that stair just on the right up to this new master suite addition. Yep, orange arrow, so the stairs would go under and then come up on the stairs on the right-hand side, and then enter into master bedroom with master bath and closet. And we've also included a smaller private outdoor area for bathroom deck and some plantings in that green area. And then to the south of the master bedroom, we have a proposed roof deck, and then the rest of the main massing roof. On this level, in a similar strategy to the floors below, we also have a 5-foot overhang, both to, you know, help create shade into that space to prevent heat gain, and then also minimize lantern effect and glowing.
And on this elevation, you'll notice that in the bedroom, we have about, you know, 8 or 10 feet of glass in the bedroom. We are not proposing glazing in the stairwell, being sensitive to the amount of glass that's ocean facing and keeping it pretty limited to occupiable rooms and not stairwells.
And one other item I wanted to note, with the garage, we've sized it appropriately to where you can have cars in there, but then that's also a space where you can locate all trash compost out of view from the street. All right, and go to the next page, please. Start looking at the exterior elevations. The labels did not come through, but on the top left, we have the south elevation, and the bottom right, we have the north elevation. And we're showing in the red dashed line the outline of the existing building. And so on the bottom right-hand side is the view that you're going to be seeing from Whitney. And so, as I mentioned earlier, so the nature of these hillside or these steep slope sites is you have what appears to be a single level massing on the north end, and then a multi-level stepped back massing on the south end, with glazing facing towards the south coast. From a material standpoint, we're proposing pre-stained vertical wood siding and a 1x6 dimension. And as Jeff started to elaborate earlier, the intent is to make it look like a pre-weathered wood, something that can tie into the Summerlin's more beachy aesthetic. Doors and windows would be an aluminum product, a darker brownish bronze frame. All exterior lighting would be dark sky compliant.
I'd like to also take note that the red, again, is the existing residence, and the gable, the height of the gable is actually a little bit taller than our proposed top of roof height for the renovation. We are proposing to go with a flat roof design on this, but that main residence will have a lower overall height, and then that second, or the floor where the garage and the master is, on the next sections you'll be able to see is stepped back significantly from the from the south, so that there's no ability to perceive any of those 3 levels when you're on Emerson Street. It's effectively hidden.
Yes, if you could go to page, next slide, please, sir. All right, and so on the left-hand side, we have the west elevation, and the bottom right, we have the east elevation. And so as Jeff was saying, we've stepped back each level critically to maintain and minimize any sort of mass and bulk that would appear from Emerson. The top 2 levels, we are proposing that pre-stained wood, the 1x6. And then also what we're proposing in some areas is to include a wood screen to match that would also limit the amount of views and enhance the privacy both to this resident and then also the resident to the west.
Same material, just a change in dimension. And something you will note on here is our magenta, our height limit, just clips the basically the peak or the corner fascia of that second floor master. And so we are requesting the sort of exemption to the height limit. We have 210 square feet that infringe onto that height limit. It is not conditioned space. It's just overhang to, again, push the glass back from the fascia. We're at between a rock and a hard place on our size requirements for the garage. So if we were able to reduce the garage depth, then we wouldn't have this issue. Or if we were able to infringe on the front yard setback slightly, we wouldn't have this issue. But we kind of have this struggle right here. So we are requesting 210 feet. You can zoom into one of these elevations to see the impact that would have. And again, this floor would not be visible from Emerson down there, just as a view corridor. You wouldn't be able to see that from grade.
Yes, and one other note while we're looking at this elevation, so we have the pre-stained wood on the top 2 levels, and on the base we're proposing a cast concrete, and something that we hope to kind of patina over time and blend in with the landscaping that would appear, that we would add along that western edge.
Yeah, a huge part of the character, touching on what we were saying earlier, is we want the exterior materials to weather in place and build a patina over time. We are proposing to install sort of pre-weathered or, pre-stained finishes, but we're doing that so that the cedar siding, if it's cedar or the wood siding, doesn't have to go through the bright yellow blonde honey phase. We want to demute it and desaturate the color at the time of installation so that this isn't like aggressively fresh.
Okay.
All right.
That's it.
Is that it?
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you so much, everyone.
Okay. Thank you. To the questions.
I have a question. Just a quick one. On your concrete, are you guys doing an admixture or any kind of aggregate to try and get it out of, is it meant to be natural concrete, Portland cement gray, or are you guys going to like a darker gray or tan?
I would imagine we'd go gray, not like a white mixer and not a tan mixer. I'm imagining like probably a typical gray. Because it's like that beechwood silver that I think is a good coloration. And I think obviously white concrete's not a good option. I don't think that the tinted warm would be really hard to control on the pores to keep the color consistent. Do you have any experience with that, Josh?
No, I was just interested in what you were talking about. I think you're, what'd you say, aggressively fresh? A good architecture term we can all add to our vocabulary today now, thanks to you. But
I wrote it down for posterity.
I was just curious. I think you handled the question. It's fine. I was just, okay. I think we're good.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind getting in the way of what you're doing here, you guys. We got a good zhuzh going here.
Any other questions?
I have a question about where's the railing up at the master bedroom? The deck railing?
Yes. Yes, we could go to page 9. So you can see it's a little bit, there's a shadow and then there's also the railing itself. Yeah, exactly. So in pink, what we've done is we've pulled back that deck to minimize and bring it about 5 feet off of the western edge, and then size the other sides according to just what the program of the client was looking for.
And what's it made of? And does it show in the elevations?
It's a metal railing, metal vertical baluster rod railing, no glass. And I think it shows on page, what is the last page of this presentation?
Either page 11 or 10 should have the elevation.
Yeah. Yeah, it shows on page 10, kind of a little bit fading, but it's there.
Yeah, on page 10, we're showing on the top left-hand side, showing a thin metal with vertical.
Yeah.
Right. I guess on the 2 side views, I don't see it.
We'll make sure that's being shown. Yeah, you're correct. It looks like that is not visible.
It is on the lower one, right? On the lower drawing.
It's showing well on this page 302, but on A303 it is not represented correctly.
The side views, it's not there.
Yeah, we'll make sure to include that when we return. And you know, we're
in line with grid line E. Is that where it is?
If you go to page 9, we'll be able to tell you where it is.
Correct. It is in alignment with grid line E.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question related to slide 6, the site plan. Maybe I missed something, but it shows that both streets are abandoned. Well, what's the story? Emerson Street is abandoned, right? So then your access is from Whitney Avenue, but it's also an abandoned street. How does that work?
It's that's a very great question. We've actually reached out to this surveyor. This survey was provided by our landowners as part of the closing on this property. It's a surveyor that I haven't heard of before. So we've reached out to Waters and Cardenas, Right Angle, and a few others. Or sorry, Waters and Cardenas is executed to provide us with a new survey, because I agree these are not abandoned. The owner is a land use attorney, and he is under the impression that they might have transitioned to private drives as opposed to city public or county right-of-ways. I don't exactly understand or know, but when we come back to the board again, we will have an updated survey that provides clarity on that.
Great. I have a question. You're pushing out to this a little bit. I'm just wondering what the are for views up and down the coast for your neighbors. You said you've spoken with them already, right? Are you closing down their views at all?
We actually just did a study 2 days ago. It wasn't enough time to provide to the board the study, but we carefully looked at the angle from both decks of the residences to the east and the west. With our proposed expansion to the south, the neighbor to the east still has a direct view from their outdoor living space to the wharf in Santa Barbara, sort of clipping along the coastline. The neighbor to the west still has a clear view down to Faria Point. So we do not intend to obstruct their long-term, very wide coastal views at all. They should still be seeing water hitting beach in both instances. Obviously, they're more forefront hillside views will have some level of impact. But the neighbors seem to be okay with not, seeing house, but not losing coastline.
Yeah, and then will it be then sort of patio to patio, like hi neighbor every day, or?
It's slightly staggered. We'd be just in front of them. Right now, the patio is just behind, so you can kind of go 3 in a row. Neighbor to the east can overlook middle neighbor, our client, and go to neighbor to the west. So right now, it would actually reduce neighbor to neighbor because we'd be just slightly, 3 or 4 feet in front of them.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the board? Okay, moving on to public comment. I saw a hand up. I believe we also have a photos. So Josh, maybe you can bring that up. And however, we'll start with, let's see, Morgan Maines. Morgan, can you hear us? Morgan, I think you're unmuted. Can you hear us?
Yes.
There you go. Okay, so you'll have 3 minutes, Morgan, to make comments, and whenever you're ready.
That's a good photo right there, actually, that last one right there. So we live across the street and facing down on this house. So our ocean views are right over the rooftop of this home. And so we would like to know the 3rd story, what is the height of that 3rd story? And is it going to be from street level? Height from street level is our question.
So I'd actually love the opportunity to draw on this view for a moment. This ridge line there will actually get a little bit lower. And the edge of roof will cut across like that. So your view, sort of the western portion of your view, can be quite uninhibited. The garage will be at the setback and will probably, you'll get a little bit of view there, but in the main foreground of this view through here, by those palm trees and tree, could be obscured. But our height is, Jared, do you have that?
Yes, no, it's about 8'2" off of the height of the driveway. And that's, once we get a little bit further with the actual structural size, but as it's designed, top of 3rd level is 8'2" above the existing top of driveway.
So if I were to take a tape measure from the street level, it would be 8'2".
Correct.
Okay. And then what is your roofing material for that 3rd? I know you're going to do solar.
Yes.
On that 3rd level. And then what is the roofing material underneath the solar?
Roofing material, I think we'd be probably going with like a PVC or a TPO roof, and then we could use
with
some
a
sort
gravel
of ballast
ballast
rock.
Yeah. So the solar panel will have gravel ballast around it, and then the roof below that, which effectively is the new roof of the existing residence, would be a green roof with the sedums and alliums.
I don't think we would be able to see that, right?
You will be able to see that, correct? Yep, you would see that roof, which is why we want it to be vegetated.
Tell me what's the total added square footage?
Total added square footage of the existing.
Of the new proposed.
So it's roughly 1,600 square feet total addition.
Split between a
the 3
basement,
levels.
a carport, and then an actual condition, a main level addition.
Real quickly, the garage holds 2 cars, but is there an additional 2 parking spaces right outside of the garage?
That is correct. The driveway is double wide, not single wide. So there would be an additional 2 spaces in front of the garage for guests so that we reduce the load on street parking.
I'm not sure because I've never lived above solar panels. Do you know if there's glare that comes from sun off of those panels?
if you're north of those panels, I don't believe that they're going to affect you with glare at all.
They'll be angled in
Usually
such
we
a
would
way.
do a flat array, but there might be an opportunity to tilt them ever so slightly to the ocean, you know, a few degrees, like maybe 5 degrees, so that if the sun hit it perfectly, there wouldn't be, you know, any opportunity for glare to go north.
Are you guys planning on doing story polls?
At this time, there's been no request to do story polls from any design review board.
Does the request come from design review board, or can neighboring residents request that as well?
I'm going to defer to the board on that one.
Chris, do you want to answer? Or?
Yeah, well, any neighbor can.
Sorry, I was muted.
Oh.
Yeah, neighbor can request, but it's up to the board to decide if story polls will. You'll find out by the end of this meeting if story polls will be required. All right, good. And then Josh, were you able to find a letter in there? Was the letter from Morgan?
No, the letter was from the neighbor to the east.
Okay. So here's the letter. Concerns, height of the proposed new roof, extension of the roof line to the south. All right, is that the first, or does it continue?
There's a second page, but it looks like it's a signature.
Okay. All right. So it says they have registered, but I don't see them here. So can you go back to the 2 photos that were attached, Josh? Join us. I think we saw them. Oh, no.
This is that's a really good image to discuss our intent. So this neighbor, that's their view all the way down to Santa Barbara, you see right here.
Yeah.
There's
okay.
the 101.
We got to move. It's a very long presentation here.
My apologies.
That's okay. All right. So I think that's all our public comments. So we'll close that and bring it back to the board for comments. Ms. Grubb, comments.
Sorry, I was muted. I don't think I have any comments other than bringing back a more fully developed landscape plan and the green roof detailing or plans as well.
Okay, Mr. Verdiak.
Oh, I think it's a really nice project. They've solved a lot of problems. And I think the architecture is appropriate and looks good. My one objection is your presentation plans are difficult to read when presented like that. Other than that, I'm on your side.
Thank you.
Mr. Peugeot.
Yeah, what I would like to see at the next presentation is more context and on all levels. In the site plans, you do show the outline of existing structures on the left and right, but that's all you're showing. I mean, I'm not sure if you're gonna have a survey ready by then or not, but you need some context of where is exactly Whitney Street, where the decks of the structures to the left and right. So that's in plan. In elevation, if you go down, well, and you have some nicely drawn elevations, but on page 10 you have the north and south elevations. On the south elevation, it will be appropriate to sketch on the left and right the existing. There can be a photo montage will work as well too. But where is the house to the left and where is the house to the right? And on the next page, on 11, that kind of can be converted into a side section where you have to go across the street and show the property on the top and the property on the bottom. So we do have the context and these questions about blocking views and all that. Quite often they get resolved with these side sections and these drawings that show the context. So just to be fair, I have positive comments on the style of the architecture. I think very nicely done. But to be fair to the process, we need these documents just to really see how exactly it fits into the context.
Okay, thank you.
Understood. Thank you.
Ms. Froscher.
Yeah, I like the architecture and the intent, but I feel pretty strongly that you should do story polls and a site visit. Summerlin is a very dense community and almost every house has views, and there are impacts that I don't know that the neighbors can fully understand without the story polls. And I think it's an important part of the process in this community, particularly because of your third story. So even though you're being very sensitive to pulling back on the south side, but I think there's maybe a bigger impact to the neighbors to the north. So I think it's important that everybody understands what's happening here. We've had other occasions in Summerlin where people did not fully understand and it backfired later. So I think it's an important part of the process for this. And I agree with Alex about better contextual drawings as well, showing the neighbors in your elevations and updating your survey.
Okay, good, thanks, Val. Mr. Blumer.
Okay, so architecture is very good, detailing on fenestrations and the massing and the materials are very appropriate to the location and the neighborhood. And I think it's a very supportable project with the caveat that it kind of passes this sniff test on on how it treats its neighbors in terms of what they're currently enjoying and what needs to be preserved. So I think everybody said that. So really, it's like the simplified version of this is architecture is great, and let's get its story pulled to make sure it's not adversely affecting anybody. I think it's cool that these guys have using a modern aesthetic, which helps form-wise, gives the architecture ability to move around, to the absence of a pitched or gabled roof, gives us a flat roof architecture, modern architecture that can actually be a device to get out of the way of somebody's view easily. It doesn't create such a big problem. So I think it was a good choice. And it's a nice blend between a modern aesthetic in terms of the form and a, beach community materiality. And I think it'll blend in nice. I also like that they made an effort to kind of minimize glazing facing outwards. That's never bothered me at all, but it bothers a lot of people in this community. So, I think that's, probably a nod to that effort that these guys have made to really, address that. They must know that that's an issue and they're doing something about it. And that makes them good neighbors. So that's my comments.
Okay, thank you. I concur with all the previous comments, actually. I was going to mention too, the plans themselves. I found them a little bit hard to read. I think maybe it's the shadows are just heavy and the line weights are not heavy enough to get over those. So it was a little bit hard to read the floor plans, especially. I don't think you really need the shadows in there. There's no shadows inside the house. But so either lighten the shadows and, have better line hierarchy or something, but just make it a little more readable. Also, like, for example, on those elevations, they could certainly have been a larger scale. It's a little hard to read without really zooming in on that. And I do support adding the neighboring structures to that. And I also support the story poles, and also would require, since we probably, we may have story poles on a site visit, but we won't see these views from the neighbors' balconies. So I would love to see this view right here with a story pole. So I would encourage you to have once those story poles go up, have each neighbor or you take photos from each of those balconies out to the respective, here and east from the other neighbor, so that we can really see how far out this protrudes and what the impact will be to the privacy issue, both from east and west neighbors and north. And of course, landscape plan. I think that was it.
I just thought we should add, because we're requesting the story poles, we'll wait on making the decision on whether we grant the exception for them crossing over the height restriction.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but
I think that's a good call.
Mr. Chair, I imagine that this will be something that we drive through and we take a look by ourselves. So regarding the north neighbor, maybe you can talk to them and go to a place that we both agree that that's the view that, you can take a shot and show us next time that what exactly will happen with it, how that garage will block a portion of the view and from exactly where, is it like something realistic and basically that is appropriate, because, we've seen cases where people start taking pictures from odd angles that are not really reflective of reality. What I'm trying to say is that we're not going to be able to make a site visit going into every neighbor's home. So we rely on you to do that, to gather something.
Right. Yeah, and I agree. And I think, Morgan, if you're still listening, once the story poles go up, she is the north neighbor. So I would encourage you to take photos from your main viewing areas and send them to us as soon as you can before the next meeting. Same with the other east and west neighbors. All right. So, okay. Any other comments from the board? This is here for conceptual. Do we return further conceptual / preliminary, or just need to see the story poles first, I would say?
Well, if the story poles work, then it will be a preliminary approval, because we all like the architecture very much.
Yeah. Right? Okay. So return further conceptual / preliminary with the caveat that would be going up first, unless it doesn't sound like you're going to change the architecture at all. So yeah, based on story pole viewing. All right. Any last minute comments? Joe, do you need clarification on any of the comments?
No, I think I got everything.
Okay. Applicant is clear from the applicant.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Yes, okay, thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
I appreciate everyone's comments. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
You did a good job. Great presentation.
Thank you.
All right, item number 8 was will not be heard on today's agenda. And so that brings us to the final item of the day, which is item 9, the Gallegos edition. I don't know if I pronounced that right. But this is for conceptual review of a 271 square foot addition to a single family residence. So it's a 0.36 acre parcel located at 2880 Ben Lomond Drive in the Santa Barbara area. And is the applicant here with us?
Yes. Hi.
Okay, please state your name for the record.
I'm Ted Meter. I'm the architect, and the owner is also online. Alon, introduce.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alon Gallegos, and I'm the owner at 2880 Ben Lomond.
Okay, very good. So it's the first time we're seeing this. So you can just tell Josh which page you want to be on, and you can begin your presentation when you're ready.
Let's start right here on the site plan. And if you could zoom in tight to the building. This is a addition re-roof project. It's here because it's a hillside ridgeline. All the neighboring properties to the south, the west and the north are at least about a 12-foot drop down. So actually no neighbor will be able to see this project. It's a pretty elegant layout here, a H shape, 2 courtyards, one's facing north with a mountain view. And we are removing a covered patio on the north side and adding 90 square foot of addition. On the south side, we're removing a 200 square foot covered patio, adding 82 square foot addition with more glass and a bigger covered patio of 395 square feet. And over on the east side, we're changing around an entry, making a kitchen larger by moving a pantry and a laundry room, and therefore adding 99 square feet. Do you have, I don't know if you have photos available on this application?
Did you submit photos?
Yeah, I did with the application.
Yeah, there's some.
I also have them. If I can share my screen, I'll do that.
Josh, I think it's a separate file.
Yeah, right there. The top photo here is the only view of this house that's available to the public. The neighbors can't see it. So here's a view from the street. At the extreme bottom edge is the right-of-way paving. You can see the change. It's a ranch style, mid-century modern. We've got a nice breezeway driveway through there. There are actually garage doors on the back side of that. Incredible, interesting design. But if you zoom in close on that top photo, you can see that we have a aftermarket built overhang with a really low roof edge. And you can also see it in the bottom photo on the south edge. These patio covers and on the top photo, the porch, they have a bottom of beam of about 7.0. And especially on the south side with the ocean view, it's very kind of oppressively low. So this project, if you go back to the plans, this project is really replacing the center of the H, which is all living room, with a more spacious and hopefully more appropriate modern design. It's kind of remedial. We're removing these low overhangs that were actually flat roof, and they're framed in really awkwardly. We have a lot of strange roof angles because of 60-degree and 20-degree breaks in some of these elements. So we've got a lot to work with here. Currently the living room roof is asymmetrical, and it reads that way from the inside, open beam asymmetrical, which is odd. And the northeast wing of this H is also asymmetrically framed, very steep on the courtyard side and very shallow on the driveway side. So now if you could go to 3.3, I'll jump straight to the cross section in the plans. That one. This is what the project's really all about. This is the cut through the H of the house through the living room. And we're removing a two-way pitched roof that was asymmetrical to begin with the tallest kind of one-way roof that opens to the north. That's why in the existing house right now, it's got a terrific mountain view, but you can't see it from the inside. The bottom of the eave is 7'6", and there's a deep overhang. So we're basically gearing this entire project around the mountain view straight towards Cathedral Peak there. And that's why we have the glass on the north. On the right side of these sections, you can see that we're also trying to raise, so the bottom of the beam out there is 8 feet now, instead of currently it's like 6'9" to the bottom of the beam. And that's really needs to be addressed. So here we've got a 2 and 12 roof. We're maxed out at 16 feet is what we can fit in this hillside ridgeline. I wish you could go to 17.6. It would be like a 2.5 and 12 roof, and it would just be a lot nicer, but this is actually pretty nice from the inside out. The reason there's 2 sections is because part of the new roof just extends further and higher, and we clipped it over the kitchen because we already have a low hall to deal with. We don't need it. It can't be open over there. And also to minimize what is seen from the street. So if you go up one drawing to 3.2, see the elevations. Next one down. Oh no, that one, sorry. On the bottom set of elevations is before and after. Top, there, before you see some dashed lines, that's where windows that we're removing. And the after is where you see this one-way shed roof exposing itself to the street side. This is the elevation that's viewable from the street, and these elements will be viewable from the street. They're not tall enough to fit any windows in, and they do, the near one does occur on the near side of the roof break, and so it's visible, but we've created two staggered parallel roof elements. It doesn't read real here because it's a true elevation, but it would, I think it looks a little nicer to have two of them instead of just one. And let's see here. Oh, I guess I can't share my screen, but in discussing this with the client, one of our first discussions, I'm just gonna have to hold this up. He showed me this.
We can give you screen sharing.
Oh, can you? I have this on my desktop. It would be better.
Yeah, probably better.
All right, thank you.
Let's see here. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, I'll try. All right, this is a Cliff May book that the client had sitting in his living room. And this is exactly the centerpiece here. We don't have a 135-degree open courtyard like this on the north side, but this is really exactly what we're trying to do with this new roof slope facing the mountains. And I'll leave it up just for a second. And
that helps.
And it really does. It really does kind of fit the style of the house with the H courtyards and the low one-story rambling kind of feel. But let's see here. Here's another watercolor from that Cliff May. It's not our project, I want to clarify, but it's just kind of where the client was coming from, is where we got inspiration for that centerpiece. So now
yeah, we're still seeing the same first photo.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I didn't click on it. Can you put the plan back on? And that elevation is shown on 3.2. That's where I want to end on. That'd be slide 5, I guess. Okay, so the top two elevations are before and after facing north. And elevation number 2, proposed north elevation, that is the kind of the meat of this project, is what we're trying to we don't have it all glass where it's just posts, and we do have a little bit of solid wall on either side of the glass, but this is really what we're trying to accomplish with the 13-foot high windows that are able to see the tops of the mountains from this angle. And that was it for my presentation. 271 square feet of additions, and no grading, no landscaping. And we don't believe that any neighbor could see this apart from the street view that I described.
Are you re-roofing the whole entire house?
Re-roofing the whole house, yes.
Okay.
We're reframing 25% of it.
Have a roof plan?
Do I? I do not.
Let's see. Okay, we'll bring that back next time. All right. Anything else we should know? That's it.
What's your siding material?
Currently, it's it looks like board and batten. It's actually cementitious plank.
Mm-hmm. And you're going to maintain that.
Maintain that 16-inch on center 1x3s battens. It really makes these elevations unintelligible. I left it off on purpose.
I mean, I think that this would be a prime candidate for a 3D rendering. Would be very helpful here if you have the capability. But anyway, questions from the board?
I just have a simple one. Is the existing landscape just to remain as is since they're kind
Yeah,
of-
we'll be cutting out, 100 square feet of it to make larger patios, but otherwise no landscape work.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? All right, I don't think we don't have any public here. There's no attendees, it's just us. So if there is anyone from the public, raise your hand. Seeing no one, back to the board, comments.
I'd like to start. I think it's a simple project and it's well done, but I have I'm ready to move on, but I have some suggestions and comments that will really, I think they can help this project. I think the north elevation, the whole fenestration unit, it could benefit by doing more like the picture that you show, emphasizing the verticals, like the two vertical columns between within the fenestration that could remain as plaster. Now you don't really need a header over the doors. They can have like a combined unit. They can have a very small header, so that will emphasize the unity of this elevation. I'm not sure if I'm clear. It's the detail of the header and the sill of the transom that is it seems to take some of the energy of the design. The second comment is on the roofing details. I think the rake detail, the extended rake, doesn't help you on both units. I think a flush rake would be more consistent with this style of architecture.
Okay.
You know what I mean by a flush rake? Meaning
Yes, I do.
The barge rafter goes right against the end and so forth. I'm not sure if you're using a 4x material, it would look even nicer. It seems like you do. And then in both elements, in the main family room and in the other one, on the smaller thing without the windows, and that's just kind of like a question to the rest of the board. I'm not sure if that overhang to the north really helps or not. I guess it's a personal idea.
Oh, you can see that in the next one in 3.3 or 3.4.
Yeah, no, I understand. No, I think on the main room, the overhang obviously is very necessary and it works very nicely. Right. On the other one, on the kitchen where you have no windows, I don't know. Well, it doesn't really matter. I think that the main point are the other two that I made. And again, they are minor details, but I think they will help with the design. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Any other comments?
Yeah, I would agree. That was my first thought about your north elevation, that it needs more articulation around the windows, and maybe you can do that by creating a kind of post and beam feeling, that it's not just floating in the wall, but that it's really got a presence to it.
I concur. Anyone else? Comments?
Yeah, I think that the introduction of the sloping roof is just awkward. And I don't think that it just doesn't match the existing building. And I think that maybe it could work, but it needs more work to integrate it into the building. That's my comment.
Okay, thanks, John. I think a roof plan is definitely going to be necessary since that's the bulk of the project here. I think that'll help clarify a few things. Any other comments from, I guess it's just Josh and Kaylee?
I would agree with some of the comments that Alex had, but I don't have any different comments.
Okay. Josh, anything?
Not really. I don't think I have anything novel to add to this. But I don't think there's anything controversial here. It's a nice, it's a reasonable proposal. I don't think it should get overly kicked around here.
Okay. Well, I agree with Alex's comment about the in accentuating the verticality of those the fenestration on that north elevation. John, I you know, it is a little strange, I think, also, but I think that exhibit, the Cliff May, really helps for me. I'm not sure it's quite there yet, so I think a little bit more work just to, but it's hard to see without the roof plan, really, like how do they all interact with each other? But I think a little more work is needed, but I think it's a passable project. So it's here for conceptual. I think that there's the majority of the board is supportive, and I would say that we could probably return full board for preliminary and final, unless anyone has any objection.
I'd agree with that.
I have also a suggestion, just a suggestion. It could also work with a vertical siding of sorts in the addition part. Just a suggestion. You know, I'm not trying to impose my sense of aesthetics, but because you have a different element, a different statement making it on this house, and perhaps the kitchen roof could be clipped and then wrapped in vertical side, and it will be like a different thing. And then the vertical side will continue around the living room. Anyway, that's a suggestion. You may want to consider something like that. I'm not sure what the rest of the board thinks.
Yeah, I think something to set it apart was probably a good idea. It is a foreign element to the existing architecture, so I don't see a problem with a different material there. Joe, are you clear on the comments, Joe? Excuse me.
Yeah, everything sounded pretty clear to me.
Okay. Well, any questions from the applicant?
No, I heard everything, and we'll clarify it for the next go round.
All right, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you next time.
See ya.
Okay, that wasn't too bad, right? Any last minute parting words? Someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Second by John. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye. Bye, guys. Enjoy the weekend.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks.